What's up, everybody? This is Karak with ACG, and I'm here with Silver and Johnny and Abzy, everybody, and Michael Kratzy from Dead Good Media, who is here to join us to talk about video games, board games, maybe a little bit of the games he's worked on in the PR segment. I want to thank him very much for coming by, spinning, chewing the fat a little bit with us all over the world. We used to be called the International Podcast, and we truly are international right now. Like, every single person is in a completely different location. And hopefully we don't have any internet issues because of that. But thank you, everybody, for showing up. Thanks to these guys, as always. And become a member. You can join the Discord. You can jump in, stream some games with us. Or just enjoy your Friday, because it's been a rough week for a lot of people. First, we normally don't do very much what we've been playing, but because we all haven't got together, I don't think we've all been together for like 3 or 4 weeks with this many people.
And yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So we'll just go ahead and start, but we're going to start with our guest first. First of all, Michael, board games on YouTube. People can check you out at, it is just Karatze. It's spelled Kratze. It's also on Twitch. He does board game stuff when he can, because it's his side job. Do you ever want to turn that into your full job?
No, I mean, like I tried doing the whole Twitch streaming thing a long time ago, and like I had a decent amount of success where there was a point where I could like go all out and try for it, but like I definitely admire the content creator like mindset and the ability and the perseverance, because that's just not something that I don't think I could deal with, like the grind essentially. I definitely admire those who can handle it. I think if the board game stuff picked up and like I could get some side income from that, hey, that'd be perfectly fantastic. But to be honest, even just with a channel of my size, I've been able to get in contact with publishers and stuff like that, and they've sent me prototypes for games. And honestly, just getting those kinds of relationships are just perfectly fine with me. Like, getting early access to games is fantastic. And yeah, I definitely want to keep it more of a hobby.
Dude, it's insane. We were talking. We were talking about it last night, and just the amount of consistency you need to see any growth. And then the moment you have anything go wrong, or you have to step out for a day, it's like, it just fucking plummets.
It like, I mean, something. Of course, just in the past couple of years, we've just seen so many more creators just be vocal about burnout, which is a good thing. I mean, I think it's a good thing for content to be aware of that side of things. But like, we're seeing more sort of the OGs drop off, take breaks, quit making content, or just go into other areas of content creation, which I think is a smart move.
I would quit instantly if that popped up. I would be gone. Like, I mean, I got laid off. I don't know if I was doing quite well on YouTube on the side with a random review, but I wouldn't have left. I was getting paid really good money, and no way. There's no way.
Yeah, that's especially hard because exactly, because you have a job and stuff, and you don't know. It's like a huge risk, right? To be consistent.
Stability.
Jumping into some insurance or what have you. I know some places it's free, but it isn't here, so you pay insurance. So and then you have taxes and all this stuff, and the company handles it for you. And you're like, this is great. Everything's handled for me. And then once I got laid off, I was like, what is personal insurance, and how do I get it? Because I got to make sure, like, one of my feet doesn't fall off.
Dude?
Everything's covered.
Yeah, what's an LLC? Like,
what's liability?
That was one of the first thing. Wait, liability? If I say what? Because I'm mouthy, and you look at that stuff. But what have you been playing, Michael? Like just, it can be board games, by the way, because we're absolutely going to talk about board games. But
I mean, on the video game side, on the video game side of things, I've been doing the Tekken 8. I started sort of like getting more into fighting games, I guess, back when Guilty Gear Strive came out.
Same.
And then I ended up doing Street Fighter 6 as well. And then Tekken 8 was always one that I wanted to get into as well, since I enjoy playing like the arcade versions as a kid. So I've been doing the Tekken 8 grind, obviously Helldivers 2 when I can. I'm slowly putting down Balatro, but it's definitely sort of my go-to game where it's just like, hey, if I only have like 15-20 minutes to just sort of chill out and get around to Balatro in, I think that's perfectly fine for that. And then in terms of
go ahead.
Sorry,
go ahead. No, go for it.
Oh yeah, I was just saying in terms of like board game stuff. I mean, there's like there's a lot. There's not enough time, but I've been getting more and more into sort of the smaller games, because my friends and I typically play the larger campaign games like Trespass Odyssey or Kingdom Death Monster. But we've been really enjoying sort of the smaller ones, like Clank is one that we've been really enjoying lately. And then also I play quite a few board games just sort of by myself. Like Final Girl is one of my favorite solo board games. as well as Rolling Realms and Cartographers, which are really, really fantastic sort of roll and write games. And then I'm getting back into Warhammer Kill Team, which is sort of a tabletop skirmish game.
Mm-hmm.
And thankfully that game has a pretty thriving online community just using Tabletop Simulator. So I've been able to get quite a lot of gameplay in there because unfortunately it's one of those games where like my friends and I started playing it, but it's just a really, really difficult game to get them back into it. And we just have so many other things going on because we're also doing, of course, the tabletop role-playing side of stuff too. So we're trying to finish up a D&D campaign. I've just started DMing for a game called Forbidden Lands, which is a really, really fantastic tabletop role-playing game.
Forbidden Lands is a wicked world. World.
It's so good.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's very, very fantastic. And I have a bunch of other sort of RPGs that I want to get one-shots done for. But yeah, that's sort of the whole spiel about what I'm playing, at least currently. But it definitely fluctuates
when you were jumping in, I was just going to ask about jumping into Tekken 8. And do you find yourself jumping into Tekken 8 and then sort of seeing the way Tekken plays and then playing older games? Or are you a person that if you get back into like fighting games, it just means you get back into them at that level and then what new comes out? Or do you find yourself, I was playing Tekken 8, Fighter Z or Fighters or whatever the hell it's called. It's like, maybe I'll pick that up now. Do you find yourself going forward when you jump into a genre again? Or do you find yourself actually experience back, prior titles?
No, it's definitely more. I'm definitely sort of the chase the shiny new thing type of personality. Right. So yeah. I and fighting games in general, they were never something that I really got super into until Guilty Gear Strive. Honestly, like it was mostly just sort of the casual, either Smash Brothers or just stuff you played in the arcade or Soul Calibur just for fun.
Yeah. Who did you main in Strive?
In Strive, it was Nagoriyuki.
Oh, sure. Okay.
Yeah, Nagoriyuki, and then Kimberly is my main in Street Fighter 6, and now I'm Hwoarang in Tekken 8. But then I've slowly come to learn that it doesn't really matter who you main in Tekken 8. Everyone hates every character, so that's cool.
Yeah,
I see so many Hwoarangs. It feels
like the Twitter version of Tekken's like the Twitter version of fighting games. Everybody hates everything.
It's awful.
It is.
There's a lot of positivity around Street Fighter 6. I never had any issues with people complaining too much about characters, like outside of like characters being clearly like more powerful than other ones. But Tekken 8 is just like, man, I went to the subreddit because I enjoyed like learning more about the game, but then it's quickly devolved, and now it's very much just sort of a hateful
to tweak the Reddit. So that it's like, please remove every toxic, I hate this character kind of meta that's in there.
Exactly.
What about you, Johnny? What have you been playing?
Dragon's Dogma 2. I'm at the end of that and just sort of like experiencing everything I want to experience before I go into the end stuff. And still completing all the Final Fantasy VII world events and side quests. I'm like 100 hours into that. It's become like the current chill thing to just jump in, do a few side quests, enjoy some of the music and stuff. And that's mostly it. Playing some League of Legends on the side. Mostly it.
All right, excellent. What about you, Abzi?
Just Dragon's Dogma 2. I also got what is that game called? Star Ocean Second Story R, because people swear by that JRPG. They're like some peak JRPG. And for me, Xenoblade Chronicles still reigns supreme, so I got it to check it out. But yeah, mostly Dragon's Dogma 2 and some Tarkov. Yeah, some Tarkov in between.
Oh,
but
nice.
I've been playing. There's a mod for Tarkov called SPT, which is single player Tarkov, and it has a bunch of other mods. And the mods actually make the game better than the live version with just like a simple reshade mod, which because the normal version is just super foggy and you just the shadowy dark areas you just can't see. It's very, very bad. The color, you have to do a lot of color correction and stuff. So it's weird seeing just a modder just fix that out of nowhere, and they still haven't done that. But yeah, I've been enjoying that.
Tarkov's been a lot of fun. I played a lot of Tarkov back when it first came out, and I have no clue when it's actually going to be done, but I'm just sort of slowly waiting for it.
Dude, the issue, the issue is that they invested so much into this like arena version of it, right? And it flopped. So then all the resources are just gone. So I have no idea what's going to happen. Yeah, they just released a new update that fixed a lot of stuff, but the sound is still kind of borked. And obviously you have the cheater issue that's been going for a long, long time.
What about you, Silver? What are you playing?
I kind of had to take a hiatus from Dragon's Dogma 2 because I burned myself out on it a little bit towards the late game. So I've actually mainly been playing Helldivers 2. I got kind of caught up in the offensive against the automatons because I really enjoy fighting them. Because it's just a nice throwback to the tactical military simulator shooters of old that I used to enjoy so much, like Ghost Recon or whatever, or Operation Flashpoint or Arma. And I even found like a couple of Milsim players to like play it with on the hardest difficulties, which has been a lot of fun. Unfortunately, it's been sabotaged a bit with the latest patch. There's been some major crashes that have been very prolific, where it seems like for me, I'm crashing like 70% of the time when I get to the extraction and we get evacuated. Toward the mission end screen, that's when it crashes for nearly everyone. It seems. Though you still get rewards, it just throws you out of the game, and then you have to go back in. And thankfully, if you're like if everyone is friends, you can then reconnect. But if you're just playing with randoms, like the teams continually get disbanded after every mission at the moment, it seems. Which is a major issue, I think.
We were in late night before last or something after they did one of the patches, and it was a disaster. It was just, I mean, they were getting disconnected. They were, stopping during the extractions. And these were guys who before had been like there weren't any, it had sort of smoothed itself out. It seemed like they'd sort of got it, running at a little bit of a better tack.
Also ran into an issue on the defense missions where the extractor wouldn't actually drop after you reached the objective. And so you had to wait the mission timer out in order to actually evacuate because it wouldn't actually drop.
Bugs in
games.
Oh no,
I've had it happen when you can't go inside the extraction, the plane, the chopper, the thing. Like you just can't go inside, so you just have to die over and over until you run out of lives.
The funniest thing I saw once was I had one time where I think Lemon had deployed like a mortar, and then the plane landed on top of the mortar. The mortar fired and flipped the plane upside down. So I couldn't get into it, but like Lemon was still in it and it still managed to take off somehow. But like it literally like flipped upside down from the mortar.
At least somebody got out. What's up, Zombie? Gang. Let's see. More Hellblade. Excellent. Oh, this person says, please, no more Hellblade. Yeah, let's stop games from coming out. That makes sense. This is my favorite time of the week. Evening from Stockholm. Thank you very much, William. Bunch of people playing Dragon's Dogma. I am strangely still playing Dragon's Dogma. I'm playing some games for review, but Dragon's Dogma, I think, it's got its issues, but it is weird for me. There are very few games in the 7 or 8 years we've done the Discord. There might be one or two. Oh, my dog's barking. It's my delivery time. Sorry. There's been very few times where I've seen a game where when I'm watching everybody stream it, every single person is just yelling how much fun they're having. No, and to me, looks like a lot of fun. That's games. Like that is it was the epitome of people being like, "Oh yeah, is the FPS bad? Oh yeah, it's bad in the city. Oh my god, this is amazing." And the very next word they said, the very next thing that they did was to, explain some amazing situation they had.
Right.
Speaking of amazing situations, please talk about whatever you want to talk about. I'll be right back. I'm going to take care of this dog. I have no clue what he's doing. I'll be right back.
Who's playing?
What is everybody's like favorite vocation? Dragon's Dogma.
Okay. Actually, I don't have a dude. They all play so like, it's weird because they all have their strengths and weaknesses, obviously, right? Except Thief. Because Thief is busted.
It is. Yeah, it's so busted. It's amazing.
And Magic Archer, you got some crazy ass busted abilities.
So Mystic Spear Hand is pretty busted as well with the invincibility bubbles.
Yeah, it's nuts. But in general, I've found love with a lot of them. Warrior, I think Warrior gives me the most dopamine, that biggest dopamine rush. But I've been loving Trickster. I've been playing Trickster right now and actually really enjoying it.
Trickster.
What about you guys? Yeah.
I liked all of them, but I told you the one problem I had with Trickster was, and he's the least favorite to me just because my pawns kill everybody way too quick for the spells to really become super useful. So that's the only real issue I've had. It is a bit busted, and then
dragon ability.
Enemies fall off cliffs, or your pawns fall off cliffs, or what have you. And so the way the game is set up It's a great idea, but the idea is initiated when you're in the second land, which is more vertical anyway. And so there's this weird situation where it almost feels like that would have been a better skill to have in the more open, verdant, plains and areas to use that, because when you get into the next space, it can be pretty rough, man. I mean, it's like vertical shit, people falling off cliffs and stuff like that. And it's not very fun to watch the enemy fall off a cliff. You laugh, and as you're laughing, your pawn follows with him. And you're all, well, that was a cool moment. But they're all good. I mean, it's so weird because all the RPGs that I've ever played, pen and paper included, there's almost always that trash character. There's almost always somebody going, this isn't that fun. And here,
I mean, I did feel like, for me, like the spell casting classes were a step back for me compared to the first game, where particularly, I mean, the range of spells you get much smaller this time around. You only get 4 skills to slot, whereas in the first game you got 6 spells to slot that you could cast at any time. That I felt really sort of limited and hurt your options for spellcaster compared to the first one, where, I mean, the first one, the spellcasting classes, mage and sorcerer, were some of the most enjoyable spellcasting classes in video games. Where I did feel a little let down by that aspect here. But I mean, there's still tons of fun. There's still tons of fun to call down a meteor, though the meteor does seem to have been nerfed a bit, where it doesn't cover as much ground, and it's easier sometimes to miss enemies with it than it was.
Don't you feel also, Silver, that the ground to cover is less? Because the first area is big and wide, but you get to that second area and the way it's sort of built, it's like there was something about one, there were these wider open spots, I think.
I'm curious about your description of the first area, because that wasn't really my experience with the first area at all, outside of like the initial farmlands right outside of Vernworth. Mm-hmm. I found both areas to actually be fairly constrained along like these sort of narrow pathways, in a way that started to feel quite claustrophobic to me, and where it started to feel less open world, I guess. And I started to really miss like a large open plain or like just a large open area. It was all like hills and roads up alongside hills, and down ravines and mountains and stuff. In a way that really started to feel claustrophobic for me.
I wish it had felt claustrophobic, because I would have liked that to mimic in the starting area as much as it did in the second, because it felt so different to me. But it could have also just been where we fought, and where you engaged enemies. And I definitely ran from a lot of enemies too. You come around a corner and you see a Cyclops foot, and if I had like 10% health, I was like, bullshit, I'm not fighting this guy. So I would just turn around and run off. So, but it's all different styles of gameplay that they embrace, and it's fantastic, man. It's awesome to see a game that, despite having those kind of technical issues, which it very much has, like it very much has those problems.
Yeah, it's been the main reason why I haven't jumped into that yet. Is
the performance.
Just because I don't have like a really strong computer, so I want to make sure, because I know the game's gonna be fun and I know I'm gonna love it. So I just want to make sure that's the best sort of first impressions possible, because I really enjoyed the first one. But just have it. Yeah. Plus, Michael, the price is because very expensive for Canadians getting full price games, because like $95 bucks. $95 for me to get Dragon's Dogma 2. So wait.
I really do like the map design, though. I think it's really cool. It's very unique, and I like how there's a lot of weird shortcuts and stuff you can platform on, and a lot of the caves and stuff lead you. There's like huge caves, but some of them act as shortcuts where they lead you to other regions of the map and stuff, which is really cool.
Yeah, the world looks fun to explore.
Spetsu, Super Chat, PLN, $12. Gang, what's up, man? Thank you very much, Spetsu, for the Super Chat. Javier, Super Chat, $2. Warriors have all the BDE on the internet. I do not know what that means. Not up on BDE, buddy. BDE, what's that stand for? Big Dick Energy. I get it.
Dick Energy.
Yeah. I get it. I just realized. I was like, yeah. It's it's people watching us. It's true. But Michael, I think that one of the things it does capture what went on with the first one, But one of the weird things I found is that the starting city has those FPS issues, and then they're never repeated in the later cities, at least to 1/1,000,000th of a degree that I'm getting in that primary city. And it's going to be awesome to me to watch a GDC in a year or two if they cover that, to really find out, have somebody who maybe their AI guy or somebody, because GDCs are awesome for, you know, those postmortems a year or two later where you find out how Spider-Man was built, or you find out, you know, some incredible amount of data. And I can't wait to go back and find, you know, have them be like, oh yeah, we had NPCs under the ground, or some weird thing that no one ever expected. I'm sort of hoping something like that happens. And then the other one, I'm doing a review.
No, go ahead.
Okay. Sorry. Talking about other games I'm playing, I'm doing a review that should go live 10th, I believe, for a game. I'm not going to say what it is because I don't think it's NDA'd, but I just want to. I'll check the NDA while Silver's talking. Go ahead. What were you going to say, Silver?
No, it's just like I do really appreciate the changes they made to the fighter vocation, because that was my sort of main vocation in the first game that I would run sword and board. It's a marked improvement in Dragon's Dogma 2. It has been consistently been my favorite vocation in the game, because when you get the parry timing down, you effectively become invincible. Like it feels amazing to like parry dragon attacks or griffin attacks or whatever. Like when the griffin swoops down on you from the sky and you parry it, that feels amazing. It really rewards you with the sword and board tactics. It takes some getting used to, because like turning around while you have the shield up can be, and using like the circle or B button if you're on a gamepad to turn the shield around can be a little cumbersome at first, and it can be challenging adjusting to that. But once you get that down, it becomes really, really satisfying.
I would agree with all that, by the way. Fighter is my favorite, but the first thing I noticed the moment I turned on the game and tried to turn around in the middle of battle, I was like, oh, yeah, that's going to take a second. Super chat, Brandon, $5 super chat. I really despise the FromSoft for me. Is Dragon's Dogma gameplay similar? I'm on the fence on whether or not I should buy it. And I would say no. I would say that there are little tiny aspects about it, but it's way more.
Person action, that's about what they're...
FromSoft is usually very, very reactionary, like that type of combat, which a lot of other games have also adopted. But this game is a cool departure from that.
Yeah,
it's closer to like Devil May Cry, I would say, actually, than it is to FromSoft's games, the Souls games or the like.
It's hard too, because I talk about this in the podcast I did by myself on Tuesday night, that genre descriptions just mean nothing anymore. And we were laughing about, somebody was asking me what I meant, and I was like, well, ignoring the roguelike and roguelite joke that we always drop, the big one to me was I was playing NBA, 2K, whatever, and there's a huge career mode, and everybody's got stats, and they're like, so it's an RPG. And I'm all, you know what? It is an RPG.
Yeah,
it is flatly an RPG, and it fits every RPG standpoint we've ever, in the past, stated was RPG. So you get these games where, like, you know, somebody will come along and they'll drop a term, not usually the creator, it's usually somebody talking about the game, and then I look at the game and I have 10 people who unfortunately still stick to the genres, and so they're like, oh, well, that's not for me. Oh, it's sim, that's not for me. I'm like, no, it's not sim like that. It's not in that way. And then you need to go on. It's awesome that games are that complex. It's incredible we can get out of a car and not just drive in our driving games. But it's almost that no game is its own thing, its own one genre anymore.
They transcend.
They have elements. They have a lot of elements from a lot of genres, that because the genres were, you know, they were set back in the day where games were way more focused on one thing or the other, and now every game has elements from a lot of different things. Every game has like leveling up and getting skills, you know what I mean, where that was almost always an RPG back in the day.
Oh, and that was the other thing I wanted to talk about. Speaking of tabletop and tabletop games, Tabletop Simulator is one of my favorite. Still don't know how it's legal. Whatever. It's out there. It's amazing. It's I just don't even want to talk about it too much because I'm worried somebody's going to take it down. But the new one, Tabletop, damn it. Let me open up Steam here real quick. It's a newer one. It's made on Unreal, and I got to tell you the difference between Tabletop Simulator and this one is night and day. It runs well. It's scripted, so you can script games. So we played Twilight Imperium, and the big joke about that board game, if anybody follows board games, is that the setup is longer than most days are. And so I jumped into this and started playing within like 6 minutes, and it was this freeing moment of like, oh my God, I can play this game without having to set it up. Will my friends play it? No, because they're scarred forever. It's called Tabletop Playground. And so if anybody wants to check this out, Tabletop Playground, I believe it's 5 to 15. It has less games than Tabletop Simulator, but it's so much more just performant. It's unbelievable. It's like,
oh yeah, it looks just like a nicer version of Tabletop Simulator.
Yeah, but here's the big problem. So, and we see this with games sometimes, and Abzi talked about it, a mod fixing something. The mods and gamers have taken over Tabletop Simulator, and they've made it theirs, and they don't want to switch to a newer, better one. And so you don't have as many games. And I'm all, but the newer, better one is newer and is better by a massive
But everyone's
amount.
already invested in the old system.
Yep.
Yeah, because you have full community. You have full communities following specific games on Tabletop Simulator now, right? And
dude, there's
people know how tough it is to move a community over to another platform. So
I've tried to move from Twitch to YouTube, and I can tell you, even that, it's just like, I mean, it's ridiculous how hard it is. And if you have people vested in the background and they know what they're doing, just moving on, the only way to really get rid of it would be to that be pulled. Nobody would want that, but that to be pulled from Steam, and then people have to move.
Look at for how long people hung on to Windows 98 back in the day.
Yeah, this brings me to a conversation I did not prompt these guys for because it came last night. I forgot until just now. GTA 6 is coming in 20 years. Who knows? How are they going to move GTA 5 online's people to GTA 6? Because there is money, time, resources people have spent, and they've got a return on it. They have. They bought it. They're playing those games. They spent their money. However, we don't live in a day and age anymore where that's socially acceptable. There people will be freaking out saying, I spent all this money in GTA 5. What are you going to give me for jumping to GTA 6? But I can guarantee you they're not going to want people to stay in GTA 5 because not only, as like malware and shit gets worse, the chance of something getting on a server, older servers, older tech, they're going to want to move people. So we'll just start with Johnny this time. If you had to move a crowd from GTA 5 online, that vested in, dug deep in role-playing crowd, how do you get anybody interested in GTA 6, especially when Red Dead 2's online was absolutely trash? Like, how do you get people to move?
That's a really good question. It's almost the question of, you're launching a new online social platform. How do you get people away from Twitter into your platform? It's almost as difficult as that. It's just easier because it's the same people. So in a way, they have, all the tools and everything to do it technically. But I think for me, the way to approach it would be to take advantage of FOMO, which is, let's say you're a GTA 5 player, right? And GTA 6 comes out, it's got all these whistles, right? And all the shiny stuff on it. And it's got all these like new modes and new things in the multiplayer version. I think that's something that can work really well if they do lean into that. And, they're constantly showing, oh, look at all this fun everybody's having in the new multiplayer, right? And you're there sitting in your 10-year-old yacht in GTA 5 that to death.
Right. That's true.
I think maybe that's the best weapon, is just the FOMO that people have nowadays.
Yeah. That's a good idea. What about you, Abzi? Now, you and I had to experience Red Dead. So how do you bounce off that?
Red Dead was fumbled so hard. It could have been something so special. It could have been something amazing.
Rumors say you rode a horse together. It was a moment.
Oh, dude. Yeah, and then we got extremely disappointed because we wanted to go fishing and we couldn't go fishing, and it just broke my heart.
Until you're level 10. Yeah.
I was so excited to go fishing, man. But with GTA 6, with especially with the money thing, it'd be nice if they transferred a lot of stuff or gave you something nice, like cool or something. But I feel like if you, it's GTA 5, dude, you gotta, when you're buying these things, you gotta keep in mind that you gotta have some responsibility. Like obviously GTA 6 is gonna come out at some point. You know what I mean? I'm investing all this money in GTA 5, and I'm sure people expect GTA 6 to come out at some point. So I feel like it's also some of the responsibility is on the people buying all those things, where they buy into something that is a numbered title that is obviously something newer is going to come out in the future.
How do you get them to ignore Red Dead 2's fumble, though?
Yeah, that's a good question. So I think it's good that they acquired what was it, 5M? I think that's a really cool move. I want to see what they do because they did some amazing work, and incorporating all these RP mechanics, maybe even into single player mode where there's just way more interactivity in the world. As well as what I hope we're gonna see is the same thing that 5M does, where they sell servers or rent out servers to creators, and they make their own RP servers within officially, which would be really cool. But hopefully they just learn from their mistakes from Red Dead, right? Hopefully they don't fumble the bag, because GTA 5 is insanely successful, still insanely successful. So they'd be shooting themselves in the foot if they do fumble that one. Yeah.
What about you, Michael? Any ideas from your side?
I mean, like, I think Grand Theft Auto and Rockstar are in such almost a unique position where it's just like they have the renown where they almost don't really have to try too much to actually get people to move over to GTA 6. I think Johnny was sort of right, where it is sort of just going to be the natural flow of FOMO, where like it's been so long since the last GTA has come out, where it's just, I don't think people are going to be able to resist not just having to see what that new thing is like.
Right.
Yeah, it'd be interesting to see if they do actually like reward players who are like sort of more legacy long-term players. I think that'd be nice to see, but I don't think Rockstar needs to do that to actually get them to move over to the new thing. I'd be definitely curious as well for like just mostly the RP side of things. That's one of the biggest reasons why GTA 5 is just still so well known, is sort of the role play side of things. I'm very curious to see sort of how the communities there are going to be sort of innovating and sort of testing new waters in GTA 6.
What about you, Silver? Any ideas?
Yeah, I think it's going to be a lot more difficult than I think a lot of people realize, and I think really Red Dead 2 was indicative of that, because I got the sense that Red Dead 2 was basically Rockstar going, well, people are just going to migrate from GTA Online to Red Dead Online if we structure it in like a similar way, that they're just going to come over, and people did not really. So I think, I mean, there is that, I mean, like you just talked about there earlier, there is an inherent sort of bias towards the platform and the system that you're already invested in, where it can be very difficult to get people to move on from that, where, I've already invested all these hours, all this time and literal money into like my bunker, my yacht, whatever. Why would I ever move on from that to start all over again?
Yeah.
And I think certainly a key part of that would probably be some kind of legacy tie-in, where maybe you do carry some stuff over from the older GTA Online character or whatever into the new stuff. Like maybe you get a free apartment or whatever, something to start you off. That could maybe be something I could see working. But I think it is going to be a significant challenge for Rockstar to get people to sort of leave the old system behind that they've invested so much into.
Dude, what if wait, I have an interesting proposition, man. Do you remember in God of War 3 where you dive down into the underworld and lose all your powers slowly, and you just see all your abilities go away from God of War 2? And then we see that a lot with sequels, where you're just super powerful at the end of a game, and then you're back to zero in a second.
You have to learn how
what
to
if they use the same exact character you had in GTA, but he moves to Miami or whatever, and then you just see your bank account just like, oh, it got stolen or something, and you just see the money just going away, all your assets just go away.
Click this link to move your character to GTA 6, and you do it, and then they play it into the roleplay. By the way, I wasn't given the big eyes. I was given to Silver when he was talking. I saw a receipt. I bought 400 pounds of weights, and I realized how much weights cost. Like, it is crazy to me that weights cost basically $1 a pound. Like, I was looking at it, I was like, oh yeah, I need some squat racks. What the man, dude, it's
if you're
just
stronger,
metal.
you got to pay more, dude.
yeah, exactly. Mine would be in agreement with everybody, but here's mine. Excellent, unbelievably concrete. Hire me. Information on what you're doing. It needs to be as concrete as humanly possible. It needs to be: are we or are we not cutting off GTA 5? When, if we are,
sure.
what we're doing. And give everybody who's got a certain amount of GTA 5 stuff a percentage of the value traded in. I have no issue with that. So if somebody spent, and I'm talking in-game money, somebody has $150 million, they got yachts, whatever, 10% of that in-game money, boom, you're gone. And like Abzi said, transfer it in-game. I think that's a good idea, to be like your character. And while you go, you can stop the plastic surgeon and change your voice and your sound and if you're male, female, and all that. And therefore, you just are Mass Effect 2ing the entire thing. I mean, because Mass Effect 2 did it. They was just like, let's kill Shepard and restart him because of the PS3 version. So that kind of stuff is a good idea. I think super clear communication, because it was not clear. And then also, there can't be anything locked. It's already locked by time and effort and everything else. It can't be locked. If I go out there and they say you can't fish, or you can't catch gators, or you can't do this, or whatever Florida is going to be known for, if any of those are locked behind a level cap or something, I think that should happen later. I think when everybody initially goes, just be like, boom, it's open. Just like GTA 5, when we started GTA 5, things were open and then they closed them off. Let us go in without any worries of that kind of stuff in the moment. And then from that point, build on, because you want the positive pop too. Man, if they have a bunch of negative pop, there's going to be people figuring out how to just stay on GTA 5. They just will. They'll just be like, GTA 5 looks pretty good. It doesn't look great, but people are role-playing cops and shit. I don't know if they need it to look amazing. And there's also going to be some worry about performance, because the PC version is not coming out with the console version. So they already have a huge problem right there, because PC is where the modding and all that stuff occurs. So now you got to figure out how you vest PC modders into a game that isn't even out for their system for another year. Right. It's going to be.
Maybe it's on purpose.
With Silver, it's going to be hard as shit. Like it may not look hard. They may do it effortlessly, but I mean behind the scenes, a lot of shit. What were you saying, Abzi?
Maybe what if they know that, because I think the large majority of their player base is on PC for online. What if they're like, okay, we got a year to fix up online and make it as good as possible before we release it to the mass, Something with the communications thing you said as well. I'd love to see that for DLCs. Like, we have Elden Ring and Final Fantasy 16 DLCs coming out, and it'd be really, really nice if they tell you, like, this is the level you need or whatever. Yeah, this is how scaling is gonna work. They're always cagey, and you never know, when a DLC comes out, it's like, okay, do I have to start a new game? Do I have to be at this level? Am I too over leveled, right? So
yeah, I'm excited for GTA 6, but I do think that they have that is. I mean, they've also got enough money. Each nut has a yacht. It's beyond belief amounts of money. So
the one interesting thing in what you were saying, Karak, is like, they learned from Red Dead 2.
No, but I hope they did. I want to put that out real quick. Sorry.
Right, we hope they did.
Yeah.
But in my head, I'm like, I'm not even sure if it's clear what exactly was the lesson from Red Dead 2 in a way. Because it was a fairly solid game, like Silver said, structured in a similar way to GTA 5. So why did it utterly fail in comparison? I don't know if they learned something. Yeah.
Lack of 3D, man. There were jets and airplanes. You can't fly around on your horse in Red Dead.
That's true.
There were a lot of people who felt the verticality was gone. There was no vertical. Yes, it's a Western, and I agree.
Much more limited by nature.
Much more limited, and you have to replace that limitation with something. And instead of something, it was nothing.
Also, the money grind, like the grind for the elite currency in the game, the gold bars in the case of Red Dead Online. I mean, it's already grindy. GTA Online had gotten substantially worse grindy over the years, and then
totally agree.
In Red Dead Online, it was even worse than in GTA Online, frankly, where you were basically dependent. If you wanted to like really grind gold, you were dependent on logging in daily to do your dailies, so that you accumulated like a multiplier that would like multiply your daily gold income, so that you could actually start earning some gold. And I did that for a little bit, and it just was not rewarding in any real substantial way.
It's funny because Johnny's seen this show, Lie to Me, and it's about microtransactions. And when you mentioned the grind, I happened to see myself in the corner give a little microtransaction of like pure.
You mean micro-expression?
Micro-expression, yeah. He goes. He said grind, and I was like. Yeah. And it just went away, and I saw myself, and I was like, woo, that was not planned. That came out of nowhere. Yeah, man. I mean, I'm excited. I can't wait to play it. I'm single player is my jam anyway, but it'll be interesting to see what they do. Moving on from there, interesting is what happened, yesterday and the day before, I guess. So Hellblade 2, people went and previewed it. Mostly, in fact, as far as I could tell, pretty much just completely positive on what they saw so far. as I warn everybody, previews are a different beast completely than reviews. There's a different thought process around it. So taking that into account, multiple people have stated that it looks like probably one of the top tier looking games so far on these gens, which I think is exciting because we've been wanting, to go there. The 60 FPS thing we know of, it's going to be 30. But when I look at Hellblade, the one thing that excited me, and, other people are going to be mad, they stated they weren't going away from the gameplay, number one. And that's what I was hoping that they would. I was hoping that's exactly what was going to happen, was that they stuck with that more cerebral gameplay in one versus, let's say, God of War, the Hellblade crazy person edition. It's like, we are going to stick with this. Did anybody see any of or read any articles? Anybody here read any articles on Hellblade? Go ahead, Michael. What did you think on
I like the IGN one. I think the one thing they pointed out that made me sort of happy, because I really, really loved the first one, was that it looks like combat is going to just be more involved. I think that's just like my one thing that I didn't enjoy as much from the first one, and I think that was sort of a common sentiment as well from everyone else, is just that the combat was fairly simple and straightforward. Yeah. I mean, it was gorgeous to look at. I think like their mocap team is fantastic and has a very satisfying flow to it. So for them to be able to take that flow and actually put a little bit more depth into it, a little bit more decision making, things like that, I think is going to be fantastic. And just seeing from the trailers, and even the first one was like gorgeous for the time that it was launched. I think the second one is going to be definitely miles and miles ahead of it. So I'm very much looking forward to it.
Excellent. Anybody else see any footage or read any of the articles? What'd you think?
I just saw footage. Like I didn't read much about it. I just saw a lot of footage, and it looks like they're really pushing UE5. I feel like we kind of said that was coming. We're halfway into the gen or something, and we're actually seeing some next gen games with systems or crazy graphical improvements that it's going to start running at 30 FPS on console, because console won't have the power to really churn. Because everything before, as we've talked about, the 60 FPS games weren't that huge of a departure from last gen, right? Other than a few. I knew that was going to come, and I knew the whole controversy is going to get recycled again and again with all these new games coming out with insane things they're pushing out.
Yeah, the mocap team is like, insane. How sometimes you'll see I mean, this is not to be rude, but we talk about, you get an Alone in the Dark, let's say, and it's a newer game, and you look at the mocap of movie stars we've seen before, and it's good. It is good. But there's some professional level that's elsewhere, that you see from some team, an Uncharted, a Naughty Dog, what have you, and you're like, whoa, or Horizon Zero Dawn, where you stop and go, what the hell? That's, that's two levels above everybody else.
Same thing with film, where you have like Dawn of the Planet of the Apes and then other stuff, right?
Yeah. And then other
kind of pales in comparison to that.
Yeah, I'm excited for it, man. What I saw, I mean, the 30 FPS is something that, especially in consoles, is going to be, and even with PS5 Pro, and even if Xbox does a Pro, which it doesn't sound they're going to, it sounds like more like this will be the typical PS4 kind of Pro, where a small subset buy it and you get a boost of some kind. But these are older mobile APUs. You got to be if you know anything about tech, you look at them and you're like, okay, there's a cap on what we can get out of it. And I don't know if the cap is worth dropping to 30 or what Hellblade 2 would look like at 60 with a performance mode, but I do know one thing. Every time there's a ton of effects on screen, it's 30. When it's not just draw distance, it's not, just physics. It's like when you see a game where they're just hammering lighting and they're doing absolutely nuts stuff, it's almost always, you're looking more at 30. There's just too much going on. There's too much in the background, or you get a bunch of enemies, and that's CPU cycles. I just have to sort of say, no, that's the way it's going to be. Especially with the console's price being less than a mid-gen card right now. Console prices are pretty good for what you're getting in that lower gen video card area. So you just have to sort of accept it, man. It's the name of the game. We've always dealt with it. Consoles have always started out really powerful, and then, they're a base system. Until somebody gets a console that looks like a box, like the Xbox, and you can plug, a new
modular,
a modular one, like we've talked about many times. It would be, but it would also be a little sketch, man. It'd be a little sketch. I'd be a little nervous,
especially for
I had a
devs,
32X and I saw sparks come from that thing many times when you were plugging things in. So I don't know, but I like the idea. Yeah, I like the idea.
And it helps.
It puts fear of the god in me. Go ahead.
I feel like it also helps devs that there's the systems are just very what do you call it? It's the same system everywhere. You know, nobody has different variations of the system, so they can just optimize it for one thing and just ship it out.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps. And what we're seeing now and what I don't want to see, I don't know what's going on with, like, let's say Final Fantasy Rebirth, which was just horrendous. It was like the fucking blur on that was unbelievable. It was, and you just couldn't get out of it. It didn't really matter what you did. They had applied that soft, you know, odd filter, and then when they put the new filter patch in, all they did was apply a sharpening patch over the top of it. And you're like, dude, I do that with OBS. Yeah, that's not something you want to do with a video game. What are you guys doing? So there are ways to make things look a little clearer and stuff like that. But I think now when we're looking at it, we are halfway through, if not more than halfway through of this particular gen, and they're hitting about where I expect, actually. And the real sexiness to me is Switch 2 coming out, and you know, hearing that these games are going to be cross-plat, like that's going to be, it's going to be amazing to hear some, you know, Division 3. Oh, it's going to be on these titles, and you see Switch in there anywhere is going to make you go, whoa, wait, what? We're in a new world. So that'll be exciting. Hellblade 2, though, looks phenomenal. That character is awesome.
Yeah.
The audio, which is super important to me. Their audio is primo.
I got to get Neuras for it, dude.
You what? Yeah.
I gotta get Neura headphones.
Spend another $150 to buy Neura headphones for it. Yeah, it's their audio. Alan Wake had good audio though too, with some of the sounds and voices talking to you and stuff. So I had forgotten about that one. I shouldn't have, but yeah, it's going to be
often integral to horror games.
Absolutely. And while not perfect, was one of the reasons I was better in Dragon's Dogma 2 than I was in 1. Because I was hearing more going on outside prior to the enemy attacking. And since it's a wilder game, I feel, there were multiple times where I was blocking because I heard the ice spell being cast. I was like, oh, shit, it's over here behind me. Yeah, there was little things that I was...
You'll hear the griffin or dragon coming from above.
Yeah, you'll hear the whoosh, or...
The whoosh,
Guys, the best
the shriek.
Those as well, but to get away from audio just for a second, one of the best parts in Dragon's Dogma 2 is when you see that shadow of that bird fly over you. And like I'd just be jogging in the forest the first time, and I remember seeing that shadow, and my brain went, oh, it was a shadow glitch. I thought it was a glitch on shadows. You know, you see those all the time. And then I was like, wait, and it moved and turned, and I was like, looked up, and you see that bird flying by, and you're like, oh,
it's funny because I think I told the story on the Discord, but like my first couple of days in the game, I think like on my second day or something, I fought the griffin outside of the capital city, Rebirth. Nearly killed it, got it down to like its last half health bar, and then it managed to sort of limp away and fly off. And then it felt like it started to stalk me, because then it was just everywhere. Like everywhere I went, like the shadow was just on the ground, and it would drop down and interrupt multiple encounters, and then it would like fly off. And it did that for like most of a day, where I think it was just random, because it was just sort of flying around. It wasn't necessarily stalking me, but it felt like that. It created that narrative and that perception in my mind. That it was just hunting me continually after I
like
chased
you have
it
a
off.
Special helmet on, you start taking it off and switching, going, is he looking from the top, like, you know, pigeons shitting on a blue car all the time? You're like, I'm gonna change the color.
He's targeting me.
Dude,
the world is revolving around me.
That was what I was gonna say, is like the best thing about that is that they maintain their health, so it's not like they're tricking you or anything. It's cool that you fight a griffin, get it down to like a quarter health or half health, and it flies away, comes back, and it's at that same health level, and you're like, oh shit, that you're the one I fought before.
See, I don't know what happened there, because for me, he actually did, when he did drop in again, he was back at full health.
Oh, he probably rested or something.
Did make me go, oh, well, it was only like less than an hour later was the first time he dropped in on me again. So maybe he did, but
you had what I had, where
it was just an entirely different griffin.
Exactly. I have had 3 griffins at the same time, and I don't even know if that's on purpose, because the most I've ever seen on anybody in chat, if you've had 3, but I've only had 2 mixed with other creatures. And then one time I did have 3, and I was like, did the spawn screw up? Because that seems like a lot to balance. Because I jumped from and I wish I had these on recording. Like, I don't do the clips or anything when you're in Discord because, privacy. You don't want to record other people's talking and shit. But leapt from one head to the other. And I was like, that's a movie moment. Like, that's a moment in time that I'll remember forever. Reading some of the chats, Coolaban says, dude, yes, weights are $1 a pound basically everywhere I go. I had the same reaction. Weights are not cheap. I'm just getting through these as quick as possible. Wild West just isn't as creatively interesting as modern times. Oh, you mean for Red Dead 2? Yeah.
Very much disagree, but fair enough.
I hope GTA 6 has a great single player experience, but with the online cash they make, why bother? Interesting. I would say that is interesting. They have never, ever shirked on the single player experience on a game, even with all their money. So I think, Nagel, you do not have to worry. That would be, what if it did launch in the single players like 4 hours?
I mean, they also have only had Red Dead 2 since GTA 5. So there has only been that one game, but they certainly didn't skimp on the single player portion of that game.
Yeah, true.
Only in terms of not adding later content to it.
What do you mean? Oh, okay. No, I see what you mean.
No expansions or story or no further weapons or like DLC.
No Red Dead 1 remake within Red Dead.
Undone says he's figured everything out. He's got the answer.
Yeah.
This is simple. Transition to GTA 6 Online is simple. Announce the closure of GTA 5 console servers a close to 1 year after launch, then grant everyone who buys GTA 6 100 of in-game money. 100 of in-game money, brother, would buy you a shoe.
Yeah.
It wouldn't even.
That's, I think, the big problem is even if you said 100 out-game money, 100 real dollars would not be a lot. Like, that's, unless they reset the, which they probably will reset the economy in some way. I mean, they probably will. I don't know. I shouldn't say that. But it's going to be on us, right? It's going to be on us. Like, we're, as consumers, we're going to have to figure out what we want to accept when it comes to their level of grind, shark cards, and if you just want to steal your mom's credit card and use that. I hear that excuse all the time, and I'm like, sorry, guys. I don't think that many. I think a lot of it's grown-ass men and women buying some hot shoes in GTA. We like to blame everybody else, but... Go ahead, Silver.
Just on the note of the super chat we got earlier about the comparison to FromSoft, him not liking FromSoft in comparison to comparison to Dragon's Dogma 2. One thing I think you might appreciate with Dragon's Dogma 2 that I know both Johnny and KARAK have issues with, like Souls type games, is the respawn system, where there's a permanence to Dragon's Dogma 2, where corpses get left behind. Particularly large monsters, so they will stay there for like days and gradually decompose as the days go on, and then they will eventually respawn after a certain amount of time has passed. But it is there is a certain level of satisfaction in the game of moving through areas where you've had battles and seeing the signs of those battles, like a decaying dragon corpse or whatever it might be that are left behind.
And then seeing bandits go there and scavenging stuff or just randomly, where now you're just
from the bodies of things you've destroyed.
Yeah, where I just see bandits now there instead with the bodies on the ground.
And then you kill the bandits, and then griffins attack them. Then you kill the griffins, and then griffins and bandits are on top of the
griffins.
Dragon,
love them oxes. If you see oxes,
dude, griffins have whatever's going on with the ox cart. Griffins and ox carts had a bad relationship. They're exes, but they can't let the other one marry, right?
I broke many, man. Even the fancy ones, they know.
In the middle of a conversation, he'll be like, "Is not of you use," and the wagon explodes and the griffin flies by, and you're all, "What the shit, dude? The guy was doing nothing to you. He was just sitting here."
They love to eat oxes, man. I'm telling you, they love to eat oxes.
Yeah, it's crazy. Next up, we did have a question from Bad Toy 1986. I'd like to know where that name came from because I own a lot of 1980s toys, probably G.I. Joes. Thoughts on Phil Spencer's comments about the possibility of Xbox opening up to other storefronts? Basically,
like Steam, right?
Yeah, Steam and Epic. I mean, is there a negative?
No, I want it to be like a mini PC. You know what I mean? That'd be really cool if it was just a cost-friendly PC.
I mean, I don't even know if that too, but it's like, to me, I don't even know if it would be. I have no clue what it would be, I guess. To me, the idea of having another option is the option.
Options are always good for the consumer.
Yeah. I can't see a negative really.
They'd have to forego the subscription to play online, right? If they introduce Steam and stuff.
Yeah, because Epic gives away free games and stuff. I think it's time for. There's a couple games, I think, and I'm sure somebody's going to say there's none, but every time I've said there's none, somebody's corrected me. But on PlayStation, I believe, for the most part, 99% you don't have to pay to play online. And Xbox, you do.
Oh, damn.
For a majority of them. So it would be nice if they figured out a way to just say, all right, you don't have to. I think most of us who want to play a lot online are going to pay anyway. I don't know how much of a loss leader that is for them to say you don't have to, because I think a lot of us, there's other stuff. You look, you start playing, even if they maybe only give you a certain amount of hours in a day. You know how Epic or GeForce Now does like the day rentals? What if you just say, okay, you have 8 hours a day, 8 hours every 24-hour period? I mean, a lot of people can stick with that, be happy, and then one day you want 10 hours and you pay. That's how the world works. It's okay. But I would love to see them remove it. Yeah, just get rid of it. But more options, right? I mean, that's just...
And more options leads me to the point as well of like the market would open up a lot, because right now the price of games is what the price is for the console, right? So like both Sony and Xbox, you have a price for the game. But like with Steam, what we see is actually even day one or before, we have like 30% discounts on key sites and things like that. So if that opens up,
maybe
would open up some of those deals. I don't know if Xbox would be happy with that, or if they want to preserve the the ability to fully price stuff without like direct competition like that.
I mean, I don't think Epic would ever come onto their store if they were told you can't have you can't do your own stuff. It wouldn't be like for like games.
Very
you
fair,
wouldn't see like Forza on both of them and it's cheaper on what that would.
Yeah,
that would be
and you
weird
wouldn't be
even for
able to
me
stop it because people can buy codes and then like sell them in key sites. You would be able
to stop it because the platform will not have that game, is what I'm saying. The Epic platform will be different on the console, just like Game Pass is different on both. It will. Epic is not going to be mimicking Xbox Game Pass on Xbox. That would be a weird world. On PC, we see it, but on occasionally. But on, that would be odd. They do have Uplay on there already in EA, right? They have EA.
Yeah.
What is it called? What's EA's called?
Play. EA Play.
EA Play. Yeah. $10 super chat from Scan H. He says, "Miss you dudes as always. Thanks for the content. Had the wherewithal to get up today and get this on, and I'm glad I did. Always brightens my day. Much love, Doom Spiral." Wait.
Much love, brother.
Idiot Doom Spiral? Bro, answer your DMs, man. I've been DMing you for like a month asking, like, what's up? Dude, Jesus, I'm glad you're here. Thank you very much for showing up, man. I've missed you. By the way, Idiot, I love to call him Idiot because it's just, he lets me. But anyway, Idiot, Back 4 Blood is coming off of Game Pass as well, just so you know. So if we want to jump on and play it again together, grab it early. So moving on from there, I had told Michael a couple things I wanted to talk about, Mech Warrior and some other stuff, but I don't know if I covered it too much in the Twitter DMs to him. So if you need to go last, it's fine. It's not a big thing, but so we were talking about DLCs not telling you stuff, like not telling you what level and all that kind of thing. But also one thing I want to talk about is the story building that's going on in continued games. So this is crazy to me. And this is stuff that I never expected. And so sometimes you get a nebulous thing. Here's some DLC, but there's no level. And then sometimes you get a DLC that's so crazy that it's got so much detail about a new thing that it stuns me. And the one that I got was System Shock. I don't know if you guys saw this, but System Shock's new DLC slash hack or slash
with the new female hacker or whatever.
Female hacker reworked the final battle,
ending.
Cloud saves for sure, definitely needed. And then Shodan has got an update. I don't exactly know what that update is. But then last night in Discord, another game came up. We all talk about Helldivers all the time. Helldivers has its own world and all that kind of stuff, and its own DM. But I got to shout out something Johnny and I shouted out last week, and then again I did a little bit on the podcast. Is Elite Dangerous is on their 16th month of their Alien overarching alien battle, and now they're adding faction battles and changes to space stations when factions take over. And guys, these games are going forever. And this brings me to the other point I wanted to talk about. There was a study that just got released that stated that over 64% of hours spent in 2023 were on games 6 years or older.
Oh, really?
That is a little scary for a new game maker. Like, if I was a new game maker and I was looking at those numbers and saying, oh, Minecraft, Roblox, Elite Dangerous,
Fortnite,
thank you. I don't know. I knew I was going to miss one of the big ones.
I was going to say, how much is that? Only like 2 games. So GTA 5, Fortnite, it's like
No Man's Sky.
50%. Yeah, there you go.
And Roblox,
Roblox, all those. But it's not just that they're continuing to play them. It's that they're getting substantive, huge updates. Like these game-changing. And then Mech Warrior a couple days ago. Now Mech Warrior's got clans. You do have to buy it. But it brings RTS, tactical cameras, and co-op, all this crazy stuff to Mech Warrior. It's scary a little bit if I was releasing a new game. Because I'd be like, oh, my new game doesn't have everything. And this game that's been here for,
I agree, though. I think it also depends on what kind of game you're making. Like if you're just
really
making
on the game.
a shorter 5-8 hour game, I don't necessarily think that's too concerning of a stat. But if you are making like a live service, like long-term game, then definitely, because that market is so saturated that how do I get, like, again, it's that same proposition, right? How do I get people to move from this to this?
So I agree, but the reason why I'm actually bringing this up is because when we had the big Discord chat yesterday and I brought that up, every single person was telling me of games that were 6 or 8 hours that they weren't getting into because they were playing their old games. Hellblade was brought up. Why? I probably won't do Hellblade because I'm doing Helldivers, or I probably won't. And they're not the same genre, but they're time. No human can play 2 games at the same time.
True.
And
but we are also seeing a lot of those smaller, denser games doing really well sales wise. Yeah,
we see some, but if you look at 2,500 games released a month, then it's a little, like, I don't know. Well, remove the hentai games from that, so maybe 5 games a month. But I think the problem there is less a problem with people being unable to move from older games than just the total saturation in general. Yeah, if that makes sense. It does.
I think one of the biggest things
does make sense. Yeah.
A lot of those big games have in common that I just realized is like Minecraft and Fortnite and Roblox. They have a lot of player-generated content, man.
Yep.
Yeah.
Modding and player-generated content, and that shit is just infinite. You don't even have to work. You just have to work.
If you give players enough tools, they'll find a way to create their own entertainment, right?
Yeah.
Yes.
And then not only that, like you can just have the developers being reactive to that, and that sort of it's sort of a back and forth where like both the players are inspiring the devs, and devs can then put in tools to keep further inspiring the players, and it's sort of a back and forth, which sort of creates a cycle of just continued content, which is sort of like what we see with sort of like Helldivers 2, for example, where they're giving us the landscape of the players, you're sort of playing around and doing stuff, and then sort of the DM of Helldivers 2 is able to sort of react and adjust their sort of game plans towards stuff to sort of keep the story going, even though it's not really like an inherent linear story that you play through in Helldivers. It is sort of the case of emergent storytelling, which is super, super powerful.
And you know what's even weirder? If you look at the games we just discussed, a lot of them have mystery or what's being added, which is what we don't want in normal DLCs. We just talked about this. But in Helldivers, they're like, maybe. And Elite's like, we gave you some stuff. And you're all, what stuff? We have a bunch of, what stuff do we care about? And they're like, it's on you. And No Man's Sky, they're pretty detailed in what they've added. They don't tell you where it is. You know, they might say space stations are added. Well, what does that mean? Or space stations are adjusted, or what does that mean? It's awesome, but it is. I do wonder, because we've talked about this before. MMOs, service games, games that have the whatever have our attention. Even myself, I find myself looking at a new game to review, and I get a tiny bit of FOMO that I didn't get in the past of not being able to jump into an Elite or something because I am doing a new game. Even though I love the new game, there's just that I've never had the backward eye before, but now it's starting a little bit because they've crept up. And there's all of these. I mean, Star Wars Knights of the Old Republic just added a bunch of shit. And that game's like 150 years old, man. Like, it's crazy how old some of these games are. But
it's really cool now, too, with like a lot of these live service games. We're starting to see, well, we've been seeing it with EVE Online and with the other one you mentioned, the space game with the voice attack. God damn it. The one you just mentioned with the 18-month.
Elite.
Yeah. They have like an ARG feel to them where online on Twitter or something, it's like, get on the game, guys, like you're getting invaded or something, and then in EVE Online you got guilds that are getting in verbal battles and conventions and shit, you know. It's really, really cool to see like they're tying everything up together.
Signs at GDC where you find out that that means like this EVE room is a place to meet. They've done that kind of stuff. You're just like, what? Yeah. Where it's inside and outside the game. Forums are set up for outside the game, so people can talk about how they're going to backstab each other inside the game. It's just,
So I use like a cipher mod to write each other in Discord so that it writes in ciphers.
Johnny, you do Elite and stuff. Have you seen any of this stuff? And like, we talked about it and stuff. But I mean, do you ever like look at that kind of stuff and go, man, I want to jump back into Elite? Or is the level
I
of complexity...
did with Odyssey. The Odyssey content they released. Which was cool. It had some issues, like they messed up all of your keybinds, which Karak, if you play with a HOTAS, setup to get your keybinds back to where they were, it's like, dude, I don't even know where to start.
Right.
But annoyances aside, I've liked a lot of the content, but I think there's even an extra layer to that. It's not even that they get so much content over time that it's impossible to compete like directly for a new game. But it's also, for a lot of people, that's their social
outlet,
moments, outlet. For a lot of people, they get home after work, right? And they're like, dude, I'm gonna spend my 3 hours in whatever Final Fantasy 14, not even playing the game itself. These people are going to the town, to Limsa Laminza, and they're like role-playing a striptease thing.
I like how he dropped that name. God. He said it a lot. You can tell. That was a perfect pronunciation.
There's some degeneracy in FF14, dude. There's some grade A degeneracy.
Look, I'm not party to it, but I've been exposed.
You're like, you're setting yourself aside. You're like, hey,
I worked at a bartender in FF14 for 300k gil a week, dude.
There you go.
That was some degenerate shit, dude, that goes on in that game.
So, Johnny, does the complexity then of Elite push you away more than like Final Fantasy 14 because it's a little less complex? Do you find yourself looking at
I think it's more that, like what you were saying there, I'm much more interested about what's new and exciting. And I want to make sure I'm keeping up with, okay, what are people doing, right? In terms of new games, more than returning to old ones. So it really has to be a really interesting, like, content thing dropping for me to go back. No Man's Sky has done it a few times with some of their stuff. Elite did it with that one, but I would say more than likely. It's, I'm just going to check out the new stuff. And then if there's a lull in new things, I might return.
Michael, is there any communal games that you're playing, or whether it be MMOs or a service game that you...
No, not particularly. It's mostly because, like, I mean, I used to do that a lot back, like, when I was younger. Like, I had, clans in Counter-Strike. I had plans in Star Siege Tribes, and Guild Wars 1, Shadowbane, a lot of MMOs that were very, very communal for me. But obviously, as you get older, you have less time to play games typically. People have different schedules. I mean, it's not something that I've really dove back into, and it's mostly as well for the fact that I usually get a lot of my social gaming outside of video games, where I get it through board games. So that's the biggest thing for me. Is like I already get that social contact through there. And obviously I do have friends that I play video games with online, but it's not so much that I have my main source of social interaction there, which I know a lot of people, when they find a game or a community that they're really, really attached to, I mean, it's understandable that becomes sort of their social outlet.
Yeah, it's pretty cool too. When you have, you'll have somebody who and this happens to all of us in some social situation, whatever it may be. There might be a person just may not be super social on their own, but they're a gas station trucker in Elite Dangerous. Their name is known. Yeah. People are calling them, saying, I need your help, blah, blah, blah. And there is nothing, that is awesome. Like, to me, that is incredible, because it is something that I remember playing games with no online at all. It was not a thing. There wasn't a choice of a service game. There was not service games.
Sometimes only one controller port. I remember in the old
or one button on the Atari. And you're like, dude, hey, I bitch about context sensitive. That was just sensitive. There was nothing. You were just screwed.
Or you had like that awesome. ColecoVision where it was a remote control, basically.
Dude, yeah. Little dial.
Did you ever play Foxtrot? Do you know about Foxtrot?
Oh yeah,
the military.
I know about Foxtrot.
The shooter.
Top military game.
The stories out of that emerged that are really, really cool. Like devs doing something a bad update, and then people going on strike and shit. Even though that's like a negative thing, I think that's so cool. Like a whole,
the difference.
People in charge.
It also has the persistent narrative or major narrative.
The idea that back then it wasn't negative in the same way, because social media has made things now be of fake worth, where they're like, how dare you? Where when those things happened, when it all first started, people were just excited to be able to do it. And the strike was like, hey, let's go on strike. Well, that sounds like a good idea. Now, I swear to God, there's probably Twitter accounts that just handle strikes in games, where you can go and find somebody and be like, I need you to run a strike campaign for this game. Okay, no problem. I got all the templates ready. And you're like, damn. But...
Absolutely, we're talking about Foxhole or Foxtrot?
Foxhole. Sorry, wait. The one where there's like a whole
I think that's Foxhole is the one that like isometric with the
it's isometric, and people are in charge of giving people bullets. Like some people don't even see combat, and they just resupply people. Yeah, those guys went on strike. Yeah,
they went on strike.
Yeah.
Like,
no more bullets for people to fight with.
It doesn't even make sense as a sentence, but I love the idea of it. We're going on strike for this thing we've already purchased, and we're not paying them. It's like, what are you going on strike for? But still, the idea back then was more. I like the more golden years, the more innocent years of those kind of social interactions, where you're like,
where people are just banging other people's moms online.
Yeah, I have no clue where that went. It started normal.
The gods,
and then went over here. Yeah, the what?
Yeah.
Call of Duty.
Call of Duty voice chats and shit.
Voice chat. I get you.
Okay,
I was thinking outside of voice chat and going, what is this dude talking about? Okay, I got you. I'm with you. Answering some questions from our Discord real quick before we jump back in. Pipe-A-Man 247 says, with the relative lull in the latter part of this year, do you guys think it do you think it will put the gaming community on edge a bit? And I'm going to answer this first on my side to get it out of the way. Yes. Idle hands is a real thing, especially on YouTube, and I've already seen it where people start going after each other and little things start getting said on Twitter. If there's enough games, everybody's quiet. They're like, they're all, hey, check out my new video. But when there's no new video to check, it's like, yeah, so-and-so's doing this. And, I watched this person. Their idle hands are definitely a thing, and I do think that there will be more, whether it be like, I don't know, not retrospective, but you're going to see somebody soon with a 10-hour video called Why Baldur's Gate is Actually Trash. Baldur's Gate 3. It will happen. It will for sure be a thing, and that will be when it becomes a bigger thing, because those channels will notice their views low. That includes journalism, includes everybody in the world. That will become a thing. That's my answer. Sorry, go for it. Anybody else want to talk about that or have anything to add?
I'm just so tired of the online gaming community in general, because everyone is going into these bubbles that are becoming bigger and bigger now that communities have gotten much larger and more saturated. So you're seeing massive bubbles, and then people will just block everything outside that bubble, and that other bubble is wrong. And then you go on Twitter and you see just warring factions all the time, and
it's just a lot of echo chambers at the end of the day.
A lot of echo chambers, dude. Yeah, exactly. And I'm just so tired of it, and I'm just enjoying games on my own.
And a lot of like built resentment. Like I've noticed, like this is again also probably most evident on Reddit, where like with Helldivers, there's a significant portion of Helldiver players on Reddit that has gone grown very resentful of players who don't really engage with the major orders of the game. So like the game will issue out major orders that's like, oh, this week we're attacking the automatons. We have to take control of this planet or defend that planet or whatever, to sort of direct player engagement with those places and those locations. And some players just completely ignore those and just do their own thing because that's how they have fun. Like some players don't have fun fighting the automatons, so they'll just stay on the eastern portion of the galaxy map and just fight the bugs. And there are some people who don't like that. They don't appreciate that. They think you should always engage with the major order because to them the galaxy campaign really, really matters. To the detriment of some people's fun.
Yeah, I mean, when you have an overarching goal where everyone's supposedly supposed to be going towards that goal, you have more and more people who think that's the only way that you should really play.
Right.
And so that's where you sort of get like those gatekeepers of sort of dictating fun. And there's a lot more people who try to dictate.
And
fun,
you saw sort of microcosms of it as well initially with the initial release of the game, where a lot of people started focusing on the meta of the game, that you were only supposed to bring in these and like this piece of equipment and this stratagem and whatever. And if you didn't, there were some people who would just kick you because you weren't optimally loaded out for the mission or whatever.
So, Silver, I believe this is how trolls are created, and here's why. I've never wanted to play Helldivers more than right now because I want to be that guy. I love the idea of going in and being like and just running around in circles because of what you're talking about.
Yeah, all right.
Because I do get, by the way, somebody's invested. I actually I'm teasing it, but I do understand investment, and I understand a newbie. So, you get that newbie coming in. That's something that Helldivers itself, there's some fixes they could do as well. Shooting range, couple things there that they could do that would sort of do some onboarding. Same thing Destiny 2's got an issue with. But I love the idea because I get it, man. I get where somebody's like, I spent 80 hours, we're doing great, and then you're playing with a random, which is the only, because your friend's gone, and that random comes in and starts shooting the rock, and you're like, what is he doing? What is happening? Or you try to go over here and they kill you with one of the many overpowered weapons in the game.
Or like I've been grinding missions all day on this planet so we can capture it, but we're not capturing because like 40% of the player base is off in the other portion of the galaxy.
Right.
So you get frustrated from that. Right.
Yeah. It's interesting. Like it's a dichotomy that'll exist forever. Like it's just we're not being paid.
So many different games.
And that's the difference. We're also not being paid. If people are paid, you hire a bunch of people for your basketball team. They all probably want to win. You pay them. They're invested in a certain goal. But when it comes to games you've paid, it's a little different. It's like you've paid, you've made your investment, you want to play it the way you want. And and your goal can be completely opposite of winning the game. It can be armor, not armor collection, but in some games it can be, I'm trying to get my armor, and somebody's like, no, we're trying to fight this raid boss. I'm not. I want my cool pauldrons, man. I don't know what you're talking about. You get that offset, so.
Well, or people who just want to do the fight system, who want to immerse themselves or role play, and then they slow all the people down or whatever.
Like Magic the Gathering. I don't know if anyone plays Magic the Gathering here, but like
I used to.
Yeah, I think one of the lead designers made an article a long time ago, classifying sort of different player profiles. They categorize people, and it's called Timmy, Johnny, and Spike. So you have the Spike players who their way that they get enjoyment is through winning the game. Whether it be having the meta top list or whatever, that's how they express themselves. That's how they enjoy playing the game. Then you have Johnnies, who their form of enjoyment is really just sort of self-expression. So they build the deck that they want to make. Doesn't matter if it's garbage or not. It's just their self-expression of how they present themselves.
Right, Johnny?
Exactly. And then you have Timmies who just like to win big. So they'll use the biggest monsters, the biggest spells. Even if they lose 100 games, if they win one game with that one big spell, they're going to really, really enjoy it. And I think that those profiles can definitely carry over into something like Helldivers, where you do have like sort of this meta people who are the Spikes and they really, really just want to win. Whereas you have like the Johnnies who just want to use whatever equipment they enjoy using, even if it's not the best, and they'll find enjoyment that way. So yeah, it definitely is an interesting way to view things.
I personally think that as we continue on, the one nice thing about your own, not subreddit, but your own forum or what have you, and the ease in which you can create a website and stuff like that, that is cool because we do it in our Discord. Yeah. It's where we get together and it's a group of people who want to play something. You sort of have a discussion beforehand. What are, we just want to, are we just playing, or are we doing some particular game? And we're seeing more of that, but then that does create its own echo chamber as well. It's just something you can't win. It's a social circle. Yeah. It's never going to be perfect, you know. It's like, it's just never gonna, it's never gonna be a real thing.
It seems like everyone just wants to hear what they already know and believe in, and nobody wants to hear new ideas a lot of the time, and not just in gaming, obviously, but online. It just feels like people are so set in with their ideology.
It's just a general human nature.
Just,
I mean, people like to be validated,
confirmation
right? So
bias.
They have an idea of something.
Yeah, but they're going into
these
ideologies, even in gaming, where it's like, if you think one thing, you're going to think all these other things, no matter what. You're not going to have like nuanced takes on certain things. Yeah, it's crazy.
Yeah. Moving on from there, let's discuss.
We don't tend to do well with nuance.
What did you say?
We don't tend to do well with nuance in general.
Right. No, humans as a whole. Yeah.
Yeah.
Moving on from there real quick. And anybody in chat, how do you feel about stylized looking games? So this came up with the Strand game. Now we can call it that. But the game that came out on IGN, they showed that. And then Johnny, I think, was in the same discussion I was in, where we were talking about how stylized games have a tendency to sometimes live longer, but they can also push you away more quickly. And so what his topic was, it just says stylized games done right and wrong. So Johnny, like, do you have any examples, or did you just want to ask everybody?
Yeah, I have some examples. I wanted to hear yours, but I was thinking about, and I mentioned this in the Discord last night. It kind of feels to me like the trap of the stylized game is that, yes, your game will age well. Also, it takes less resources to create because you're literally removing detail from it in a way, right? Making it a more simplified thing. But I think in doing so, you also, it's almost like the baby goes with the bathwater, and you lose some of the juicy details that would make your game unique. And to me, a lot of the time, the stylized style looking games feel very generic, is the best way I can describe it. So like, you know, we recently had that climbing game where, you know, you had to like control your hands to climb.
Yeah,
just song. Which, to be fair, was a cool game, was a cool idea. I didn't have a big issue with it. I didn't like it personally, but the moment I saw it, I thought, this looks exactly like 5 other games I can remember right now. And I didn't really see anything like particularly unique with it. That's just my opinion. People can disagree with that, but I think in general, the stylized can make it a bit less of an identity for a game of a visual style. So I want to hear from you guys. You know, do you think do you vibe with that, or do you disagree? You have like a lot of stylized games that you really like. I think Borderlands did a good job of adding back some cool details, for example. Yeah, in my opinion,
I would agree.
To make it interesting.
A game that did that really well, I think, is Tales of Arise, where they had a very stylized look, kind of anime, but it looked very good. It looked very, very polished, and it was detailed. I usually don't have an issue with that, though. Like, I really like stylized games. I think some of them can get really unique, but sometimes at a detriment. Like Obra Dinn is really, really cool looking, but not everybody's gonna jive with that.
Try staring at that
from that game.
And then you get stuff like Balatro and other stuff that have this like really cool 80s look, like 80s monitor stuff, effects that they do. I'm not usually picky with those things. It does have to come down to certain games. There are certain games that there's these crazy shooters, I forgot what their name was, but they look like acid trips, and that's just like fisheye lenses and weird ass shit where I just can never play those games.
Michael, were you gonna go ahead? Go ahead.
No, go ahead, Michael.
Oh yeah, I was just gonna say I think it sort of depends, because sometimes you get like Jusant. I think while it is a little bit stylized, I think it really also is just sort of technical choices that they decide to make in terms of how they present their stuff, with sort of that more flat, sort of polygon-esque style. It really comes down more to like the art direction, I think, to sort of determine what something might be stylized or not, or at least have a more unique take. Like, again, like the Borderlands type stuff, where it is very, very unique in that sense. Or it might just be sort of the medium that they decide to present their game in. I think this like World of Horror is a very, very cool game, just because the fact that I believe he made everything in MS Paint, sort of for that pixelized style. So yeah, I mean, I personally, I love anything artistically unique, or whether they decide to take chances or just something that you can sort of look at. And I mean, art is subjective. It's all about the feeling. So like, if I can look at a game and it invokes something, I mean, that's definitely up my wheelhouse. Or if it's sort of like a signature staple of sort of what that game studio does in general, I think that's really, really nice. Like, I think sort of the game is about to come out, No Rest for the Wicked. The people who made Ori and the Blind Forest, like, they have just fantastic art design, but also just sort of the technical ways they present their game, with the lighting especially. I think definitely is quite stylized, and it fits very, very well. So it definitely depends, but yeah, overall I like overly stylized things, just because at least it's different. I'm all for things that are different.
You also get a really cool effect. Sorry, when you combine really good lighting with like an ultra artistic stylized game. Yeah,
exactly.
Yeah. Go ahead, Silver. You were also going to add something.
I completely agree with Michael. I think it's very much a question of intent, and whether like a game like Somewhere is very minimalist, or like Untitled Goose Game, where there's a purposeful decision not to create faces on the people running around. They're basically faceless in that game.
Right.
Or you also have the inverse, where you can actually add a lot of detail that you can't give to like a photorealistic depiction, like a game like, say, Persona 5, right? Very stylistic game, very stylistically unique, in both its terms of like its art design, its world design and stuff like that, and its detail, I think, in a way that just wouldn't have worked in a more sort of photorealistic way. So I think it is a question of like, well, what is your intent behind the style choice that you're making? Is it like a minimalist style? Is it more detailed? What is it you want to convey? What is it you want to execute with it?
The only thing I will say, I'm not disagreeing with anybody, but I do feel that at times there is a certain look that, for better or worse, has generally become mobile-like. Right. And when I see a certain game that hinges a little too close to that, I find myself not disengaging completely, but I find myself having to sort of fight that, because there are times where, I joked about this, where people were complaining about AI their art looking like generalized other art, and I was like, have you gone to ArtStation? I mean, there was like 8 billion people who drew identical to World of Warcraft. It was a actual style taught, and there's a certain thing, and with the Strands game in particular, I saw it and I was like, ooh, this is not, it doesn't mean I won't like it, because I've loved stylized games, but I do understand when somebody sees a stylized game where they're like, oh. But then you get Wind Waker that still holds up today.
Yes.
So
for sure.
And
especially if you compare Wind Waker to
the Twilight
Princess.
Exactly. Yeah. That's exactly
Twilight Princess aged,
right?
Yeah.
Twilight, it just moldy fucking cheese. Twilight Princess, it just didn't age. You like emulator 8K, and you still are all, I'm not quite sure. But then you look at Wind Waker, and even at 720p or something, Wind Waker still has a certain look to it that you're like,
and the detail of the characters, some of the character designs and stuff.
Yeah. So it's a good point, Johnny. I don't know, man. Like, there's some, I'm going to be honest. I think that's one of the reasons why I don't love League of Legends, is because it looks like mini WoW characters, and it just caused me to bounce out of it. Go ahead, Silver.
I think the big danger is that you become so focused on the style that it becomes all style over substance, right?
Yeah.
So that it basically becomes all you have at that point.
Let's hope they don't do that, but it definitely could be, where it's all about the graphics of the game. We've seen that with other games. We've Order 1886, I think. Oh, Abzi dropped. He'll be back in a second, guys.
Especially with indie games, where like that first impression of the art style is often so important in terms of like getting you on the wish list or whatever.
Wish lists are so important now that that first hit that you get is like vital now when it comes to your first trailer.
I think that's a little bit what I worry, is that, we see a trailer for a stylized game now, and because we've already seen so many games that have done this similar style, like Rime,
right?
The Witness, all this type of look, it's it's now pretty difficult for you to have like a unique thing that doesn't look like all those games in that style.
Yeah.
So
no,
to me, it's like, okay, you're putting out a trailer of a game that is in that style. You really got to have something
like
special.
That sort of knocks it out of the park a little bit.
Yeah, making it different.
Yeah. I think also, you're back, Absy. I think also when you are looking at trailers, this could be just something that trailer cutters, who sometimes aren't the company, it's a third party. We've had people on this channel who've come on to do guest spots who cut promos for companies where sometimes they don't have a ton of information about even the game. But I think that even becomes more important if you are going to do stylized, to really show what it is, what Strands did. I will admit that the IGN video, they did show them climbing up things and fight. It wasn't just like, here's a character bouncing around doing nothing. It actually showed some gameplay, which definitely helped that trailer in particular. But it's an important question, or it's an important discussion to have, because as more games come about, the graphics aren't going to entice as much. And when we start seeing games like Hellblade and Forbidden West, which shouldn't even be runnable. I mean, you look at that game and you're like, I just don't get how these guys, or, Order 1886 for its time frame was mind-blowingly good looking. I mean,
the detail.
Like, dude, I was just playing it a couple days ago going, the fuck is this? Like, this is a time warp. Yeah, it's 3.5 hours long or what have you, but still, you're looking at it going like, damn. I think it's going to be, I think the first impression, which even goes back to the GTA 6, what you offer right up front is becoming more. There's not a lot of leeway anymore. No Man's Sky's leeway, that's a different thing. Procedurally, they program different. It's a completely different style. I think a lot of people, they see it, they want to see what it is, they want truth. That's the other thing. No more CGI. How many times have you guys seen this? Even on our Discord, which is pretty, everybody's pretty tech savvy, I think. And you'll see somebody, a CGI will come up, and people are like, seriously? CGI trailer? Like, what does that even mean? Is it a CGI trailer that's just made to show us, or is it in the game? What time in the game? Just show some
in-game rendered. This is in-game.
Yeah. This is, oh, dude. Yeah, I lived through Killzone.
Yeah.
Sony.
Oh, no.
Liars.
Yeah.
Liars.
Aliens, colonial
marines. Dude, I remember talking to I think it was Rage 3D forums or something like that, and we were in there talking. I'm like, what, the physics, that isn't even possible. Like, what they're showing, it was so out of control.
Remember PS4 launch where they showed Watch Dogs and Division and Destiny, I think it was, and the crew.
Yeah. Watch Dogs, funny enough, once patched up, Watch Dogs suffers for the eternal hate of a stupid trailer. It will always be remembered not for itself. I'm not saying it's the most amazing game, but the puddles, the trench coat, the physics on the trench coat, when everybody looking at it was like, what? This was before frame gen. This was before any of the hacks. Yeah, good times. It's a good question, Johnny. We already talked about favorite locations. The next thing up Johnny has is Tekken 8 character purchase. So I have no clue what this means.
So this is not only Tekken. Okay. Me. But fighting games tend to have this like DLC packs that is, you pay like $10 to play a new character, right? I think Tekken 8 now got Eddie as a payable. You pay like $10, you can play him.
Eddie? I thought Eddie was like part of the main cast, like back from Tekken 4 days and Tekken 3. He was always in the main cast. No?
I think he is.
No, DLC
I think he's now purchased.
Ooh.
That's what Johnny's saying.
Yeah.
Ooh, I would understand if it's something like God of War.
Seems a little steep for like one character. I don't know.
It does to me, and as an outsider, it seems like I wouldn't be happy with that. I did hear from someone who plays all these games like a ton, a friend of mine who said like this is the case for most fighting games.
Yeah, that wouldn't be surprising to me.
He's basically like okay with it. But that to me just seems like a Stockholm syndrome. Like, you've gotten used to being treated badly. And for me, if you're paying full price for a game, I want to be able to play all the characters. I don't know, there's something about like paying 10 extra on a full price game to play a character.
Can I ask you a question, Johnny? Do you how do you feel removing Tekken just for a moment, because this is the only I don't experience Tekken right now. Mortal Kombat, do you feel the same way if Predator is added to Mortal Kombat? Do you feel that would be better as a, like, what is acceptable to you then? Is like a completely out of the realm of the normal cast what you're talking about? So Predator would be acceptable because it's not a Mortal Kombat character nor in the story. Where if it's in the story, it should be in the initial roster. Is that sort of what you're saying?
I get what you mean. Yeah. I mean, it does make sense. I just think it sucks to not have access to the full roster in general.
Mm-hmm.
Paying full price. Like that.
I get it.
I get the idea, like you're adding new content, but for a fighting game, new content is a new character in a way. You can't really have like new content outside of
how many characters are available at release for Tekken 8?
For Tekken?
Quite a lot.
28 or something. There's maybe that's too many.
I think I would only have a problem with it if they somehow released a character that was just clearly overpowered and just much better than the other characters somehow.
Oh, for purchase?
Pay
to win.
That would probably get some issues, but so far I don't know. But Eddie does seem weird, man. Eddie, like
Tekken had 32 characters at launch.
Yeah, so. It's a big roster.
That's one of the largest rosters for a
fighting game. That's a sizable roster. 32 is size. I'm Virtual Fighter, so it's like I got 8 and I feel happy.
8?
So, if I was lucky. Like those guys, Sega's stingy as shit with characters because they're really a different style of game. 32.
Yeah, that's a good.
I think I did it with I did it with Strive, but I just ended up playing Zato all the time, so I didn't really like. I paid for characters, but I never really used them. Yeah.
Do you know what I don't like, man? This has happened a couple times. When I fucking man, screw anybody who does this. I'm sorry, but when there's a gap in the menu. Or, worse yet, a gap in the character creation screen or the character choose screen that shows you 4 open gaps.
Oh, yeah.
Like when I played Rage 2 and the store wasn't
coming
there,
soon.
It was invisible. And I was like, that's a store. There's nothing.
Let me live in ignorant bliss. Yeah.
But when you open up like a game and, even if it's 32, it doesn't matter. But any type of game, you open up that game and you see like the 4 on the bottom, right? 4 on the floor, and you look down, you're all, what does that mean? Like, it's not going to be wallpapers. I can guarantee you that. So,
that's a really good point. I would much prefer just not seeing them at all, rather than seeing something that's not there.
Yes, because then you also know there's 4. This sounds really weird. It's getting meta. But it's like, if I know how many, then I start dividing. I start dividing by 10. So if a character is 10, I'm like, that's $40 extra. Boom. Like I sort of know by looking at 4. If you don't have any, and you just say we will have DLC characters, then you can add them. And there's also not a hint of what they may be, which I do like surprise. I do. That kind of stuff is also fun. Just getting surprised by something. But yeah, Johnny, I don't know, man. There's been times where Street Fighter, I think, has sold characters that were in the initial roster back in the day too. But they've also had a lot of shit characters. Like Street Fighter's sort of known for kicking a dude out and just being like, do people like him? Yes, no. And then later maybe they're DLC. But 32 is a lot. I will say that's a bonus on Tekken's side, or that's a positive that they've got 32.
That is definitely a really good, like, for the price. I would agree. That's
a pack. Did Tekken drop at 70, guys? The new price? Did Tekken drop at the new full?
Yeah, Tekken was a full price. Full price title.
Yeah, man. I don't know. It's a good... Johnny bringing the good questions. And then all he says here... I'm just going down the list of topics. Johnny just says, FF7 is a giant game.
Yeah.
You're talking about Rebirth just being huge, like size-wise?
Yeah, I'm 100 hours in, and like I was saying, I was just doing side quests, man. And like,
did you make it to chapter 12, dude?
Yes. Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
Like the world opened up and there are new quests on top of prior quests.
Dude, I was like, okay, I'm about to finish this game. Nope. That's done. Finish the tutorial.
It's now rivaling something like Persona 5 even.
Yeah. But it's a lot of content.
But also just because the side stuff is enjoyable to do. Yeah. Persona 5 was just a ridiculous
except one side quest. 2 side quests.
Yeah.
There's a chicken side quest that I hated, the last side quest ever is the hardest shit, and I didn't want to do it. Yeah, chicken side, where you had to like lead the chickens and stuff.
But I mean, out of 40 side quests or something, that's not bad.
Yeah, out of
that's pretty good.
Dude, the side quests in this one as well have a lot more soul than the remake. Like they have a lot more going on and a lot more like characters and stuff like that. Which is really cool.
Absolutely. Especially, dude, the minigame ones, the proto relic stuff, where each map has its own type of minigame.
For my favorite summon
tower
ever.
defense in there, like all types of stuff.
Yeah. Proto relic was sick.
You know, I see, looking at Final Fantasy Rebirth and then Yakuza, a person could technically, a busy person could just buy 2 games this year.
2 games for a year? Yeah.
Yeah, that's pretty nuts. That not online games either, like just games. Just you could Rebirth is ridiculous, and I'm sure completionist or whatever, you know, people call those trophies, whatever the highest amount
Platinum?
of things. No, even above that, like actually playing the game. That kind of stuff. If you add all that together, 100%, and you did the same for Yakuza, I don't know what the hours would be, but I feel like it would be. You'd need counseling at that point. Like some family members would be like,
a friend of mine clocked in at like 220 hours in FF7.
Oof. Oh my god.
And G plus and hard mode. And they add new side quests in hard mode and new characters to play in hard mode. It's
you
ridiculous.
mean you envy those people having that time, Michael? Like having
also the patience of just like being able to dedicate all that time just to one thing,
right?
And be able to put blinders on everything new that's coming out, and they won't jump to those, because that's the problem that I have. Is like I do like the shiny new things. That's hard for me to commit to one game.
Same. Yep.
Man. Yeah, I forgot how big that game was. I was asking people if they bought characters in fighting games in chat, and it looks like 50-50. Sometimes no, yes.
I bought some for Honor back in the day when they added like new ones for their like seasons and content additions.
Doom Reaper says, I wait for complete edition of fighting games. That makes sense, where you just, maybe it drops to 70 anyway and you still get everything. I buy the characters when they come, I'll bundle up for a special price. This is Kig saying this. Doom says, remember when secret characters were unlocked by playing the game? Yes, I do. Or the codes, or performing a fatality at a perfect point or something. It'd be like, you get, Noob Saboot or whatever.
Oh, I missed the Mortal Kombat.
I can't remember what's the Ermac.
Oh, Ermac,
Dude, remember the Mortal Kombat crypts where you just unlock so many things with in-game stuff?
I also remember the dying of my spirit, what little was left, when I talked to WB and they were like, man, this is like Mass Effect 3's ending. But they said there will be no gambling or crypt stuff in, I think it was 10. And in the actual crypt is a gambling machine. And it was that time like when Mass Effect said, we're not going to do 3 colored endings, red, blue, and green. And they quite literally did 3 colored endings, red, blue, and green. And you're all, what are you doing? You don't say it. Just do it. Like at that point, that was such a unique time. I liked the crypts in the old days. I liked just going to the different tombs, smashing the tombstone,
doing all the different mini games.
Yeah, and you get the dumbest stuff. But remember, you'd get a lot of money, and you'd start getting really nervous because you'd start smashing shit and be like, "You get $10 more," and you're like, "I spent $1,000 to punch this thing. Like, what? This is a terrible return on investment." Yeah, those were good times.
Dude, speaking of resenting, the one thing I absolutely hate in Final Fantasy is the fact that friggin' Chadley can DM me all the time with the ridiculous like video machine they have. Tracks.
Oh
yeah.
On what?
And I get this like
Final Fantasy
anxiety. Final Fantasy 7 with Chadley like video.
I was so confused.
And his sister,
sorry.
Dude,
he videos in, and I get this tension like in my core that I just finished a task. I know for sure Chadley's gonna come in. The ridiculous
it's like, please
video
don't
machine.
Call, please don't call. Please don't call. Oh, man.
Reminds me of the pawns in Dragon's Dogma 2 when they just approach you
and then force you into conversation.
I mentioned that in my review. I was in a battle one time, and this jackass is like, "I could work for free," and I was like,
so many times.
I had a really funny moment at the like mountain with the gondolas in Batal. The central platform for the gondolas. I was bringing in a gondola. And it took me like 2 minutes. And at the start, like there was an NPC pawn who trekked all the way up the mountain. And then he stood next to me for like a minute, just leering over my shoulder as I was cranking the crank. And then when I finished and because the gondola had arrived, the moment I let go of the crank, he prompted me into the conversation. Like, hey, Arisen, I can help you find materials. and I nearly yeeted him off the cliff because he's just been standing there for like over a minute, just looking over my shoulder, just waiting for the moment. The very split second that I let go of the handle.
Yeah. It's like a door salesman. Like, hey, are you happy with your current cable provider?
Yeah,
exactly.
You know, and when they pretend they're professional, there's a problem with your gutter up here. I think I saw it leaking. By the way, I just happened to do gutters. You're like, get out of here, jackass. Come on. But anyway, it is crazy how big. Going back to that, how big some of these games are, and how crazy a purchase of. This doesn't bother me too if I spend 70 and the game isn't 40 hours or 60 hours. You know, like it doesn't kill me. But when you do see a game like Yakuza or Rebirth, you're just like, God damn, it's awesome. But there's almost this time. I would never say it's too large because I think both of those games actually do pretty well, and especially Yakuza. I think Yakuza actually looks like it would keep my attention more. I watched these guys play it a bunch, but there's definitely times where I look at that and I'm like, you know what? Like those two games alone, man, that amount of time, if you have a normal job, so if you have like, 40 hours a week, maybe if you have one family member living in the place, you're not going to be spending 8 hours on Saturday and Sunday, or you'll be divorced in a small amount of time, so you got to make that choice. But what are some other big games that have released? We've got Yakuza, we've got Rebirth. What are some of the other like massive ones that have popped in, let's say, the last
Baldur's Gate 3.
Baldur's Gate 3. I cannot believe I forgot that game.
Yeah.
True.
I was lucky.
3 in particular.
I was good this year because I'm like Michael. I like the shiny new thing. I like to play on day one for games mostly, especially games I'm looking forward to. I was lucky this year. It was like a month. It took a month to finish each of the big games, but
nice.
I know a lot of people want like smaller games and stuff, but I love big games, man. I like just being in a character's shoes for a long time and immersing yourself in the world and caring a lot for characters over a long period of time. I still love that shit, dude. Yeah.
Even if the character's really weird, like somebody from Yakuza, even characters in Final Fantasy VII, but you jump in, you're just like, this is odd, what have you. It's not the normal life for me. Like Life is Strange. When I jumped in, and I would never have expected, and instead, you're just enamored with this weird world this person's living in and riding around on chickens. Nagel says, what type of mundane simulator would you like to see created in the future? Example, power washing simulator. Mine would be mod handler simulator, where you just try to get mods to run on a game. So you wouldn't be able to ever play Skyrim, ever. You would simply have purple textures, exclamation points.
That's how it is already.
It's how it is already, but we were laughing because multiple people in the Discord were saying they never played the game once they got it running. It was the game, was getting a big load order, 190 mods. I honestly would love that. That'd
be interesting.
Dude, my friend spent 7 months, 8 hours a day modding Skyrim. Legit, 7 months, 8 hours a day modding Skyrim. 3,000 something mods. Played it for 10 hours or something.
Yeah, to play 10 hours because his time to play has now gone away. Yeah, but are there any simulator games you guys would like to see? We're talking like Power Wash or House Flipper, those kind.
I think for me, one I'm actually surprised no one's done yet is running a gym, like a gym simulator, fitness thing.
Yes.
Like building up your own gym from the ground up, like making it really grimy and dirty, and then eventually building it up to like a large.
Hiring your dietitian for teaching people fasting.
Yeah, exactly. I think there's a lot of opportunity there.
That'd be so
trying
cool,
to fight
man.
off
And
steroid abusers.
give people
in the
nutritional plans and stuff, like depending on someone's body weight, and that would be.
They come to you, they're like, hey, I want really big biceps and thin legs. What can you do for me?
Like, here's the HGH,
Yeah.
And try to get away with like selling steroids and stuff. Oh, dude. Yeah.
Well, that's like the drug simulator. It's so funny.
Drug dealer
because like I played that game, and it's so weird to go from Power Wash Simulator to Drug Dealer Simulator. And admittedly, Drug Dealer Simulator is a full-on game, and the same thing happened with the other one that we talked about. There's Gang Lord Simulator, I think, or something like that, and then there's Thief Simulator, which is one of the better of all the games. But it's pretty dark. You go to the dark web and sell your services to, go and steal people's shit. So, Silver, any games you'd like to see in the simulator? Like, do you even do those, Silver? Do you even do simulator games?
Yeah, of course.
Other than
truck
racing? Sorry.
Yeah. Car mechanic simulator, truck simulator. Okay. I do a whole bunch of them. Yeah.
Is there any you would like to see?
Also, be right back. I'm just going to watch.
There already is sort of bus driver simulators. Maybe something like cab driver simulator. Although, like, I think a lot of people get stuck in traffic on their daily life.
New York cab driver
that they might not literally necessarily. Yeah,
that's it. Or what if you could make the person happier or unhappy by the music choice you make? You have to match them. You look at them. They've got if they've got a beanie on, you put some like beatnik shit on.
Yeah.
I mean,
certainly that was an aspect of it when I drove a cab, because I would generally always play, like, if I was driving at night, which I was most of the time, I would generally play Sinatra, which was pretty popular.
Yeah. That would be cool. Somebody said Uber simulator, which would be pretty much the same thing.
Dude, a guitar technician simulator, like the guy at a concert, like fixing the guitars and the volume.
Roadie simulator, or
well, that's a bit more sexual, right? Roadie is like
no. Groupie is the sexual.
That's groupie.
Oh yeah. I was thinking of that one.
That is amazing, though, that you went there.
I went directly to
That's the DLC. You start out with roadie.
Yeah, it's the expansion pack.
The expansion pack. Man, that'd be awesome. Spread your horizon expansion pack for the roadie DLC. That'd be awesome. Is there any for you, Abzi, that you would like to see? Like any real ones?
Yeah, I would love like a scavenger simulator where there's like actual people fighting, not real people, but just very powerful, military people fighting. And you don't have anything to defend yourself with, but you have to stealth around and scavenge the dead bodies and the things around the world. It's risky, and then leave and sell that. Maybe be a vendor or something and open a shop or something. That'd be really cool.
I think also with the simulator games, like we said to Travis on Fridays with Johnny, is that I would love somebody to do a big breakdown on that particular genre, because their success in that particular publisher, there's 2 or 3 publishers, has a success rate that is phenomenal. It's unbelievable. And it is crazy when you look at some of these bigger companies. We talk about some companies do have a good success rate, whether we like them or not. But when you look at Playway and a couple of these, it's obvious that they're buying independent, they're buying the publishing for these independent games. Somebody's making this game. But, dude, I mean, everything from House Flipper to Power Wash to, the genre is massive now. And I don't even know where it really started. There's always been simulator games of some kind. But it's been crazy to me to see how boring the idea can be turn into something that is amazing. Yeah. Like Power Wash Simulator sounds so one note. It's just power washing a truck. That's so one note. And instead, it is phenomenal. Upgrades, different nozzles, and just.
I'm gonna get a drink. I'll be right back.
The one breaking down ships in.
Oh my god!
In outer space.
Yeah. Hard. Breath.
Shipbreaker.
Shipbreaker is the ground one, and then there's like it's got
hard
breathing.
Space?
It's got like breathing in its name. Something about like.
I forget the name.
Yeah, I forget the name, but it's a space one. Coolaban says, give me a roto simulator, Toro, some carpets or some bathroom floors. Oh, you mean cleaning up? Well, House Flipper is pretty close, I think. Alex says, escape the room simulator, where you
There's
don't
also
do escape
that
the
game
room,
where
but
you
the
play
person directing and monitoring the escapees. Oh, the safety guy. Yeah, go ahead, Silver. What are you going to say?
There is also that game where you play the janitor after a first-person shooter, after the player's been through.
That's the one Grimblade was telling me about. Yeah, you go in and you like clean up after everybody. Hard Space Shipbreaker. That's one, but there's another one. Breath something. Anyway, I can't remember.
Yeah. That's the one like Subnautica in space, right?
Yes.
Breath Edge.
Yeah, because I'm going to be honest. The name is. I was getting a little confused on the name, and I thought it was like Breath Play. Like something sexual. So
I was sort of thinking that too.
Oh, were you? Okay, I'm glad I'm not the only one. Because
it's
when I first saw,
just you.
When I saw the reviews at first, I was like, whoa, a lot of big people are reviewing this game. I'm like, hey, each their own. Lucky says, finally here from for a live, but in Maine, where we got hammered with snow and ice rain, 60,000 people with no power. That's a shit. I know what that's like. Trust me. Hopefully it doesn't go for 11 days. But thank you to Johnny. Those were actually good. Those were good subjects. And thank you to Nagel. And then Hig has a question. What is you guys' opinions on game like The Crew being closed and not leaving a single-player version or leaving the tools for someone to run their own servers? This also is an issue with devs just taking away a game, not being able to play it anymore after you paid for it, basically destroying the game for everybody. I think everybody's opinion is probably going to be the same, right?
It's not a good thing.
Yeah, you just want.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, this is a problem that's been at the heart, I want to say, of the gaming industry for 20 years now.
Yeah. And
the question of how do we like curate games? How do we like preserve them for the future and whatnot? Especially as like some games have gotten caught in legal limbo and have stopped being available for sale and whatnot, and others have simply shut down their servers.
Yeah.
Like it's a continual problem. And I mean, you can't keep servers up perpetually. Things are going to end one day. That's just the nature of existence. But yeah, it's definitely a shame, because you can, like, with other kinds of media, you can revisit them. You can keep them and like revisit them so long as you have access to something that can play or show the format. So whether it's VHS, LP records, or whatever it might be, you can still sort of use that old media. But with games, like we do have media that just gets shut down.
Digital. That just goes away. The ones and zeros go away. Battleborn guy modded Battleborn, and now
Battleborn.
The Steam
That's
version
my heart
works
right there.
Do you own the Steam version?
I did.
Okay,
I think it got removed, didn't it?
It may have got removed, but a guy has modded that to finally get it up and running.
Oh
yeah.
I love Battleborn. That's such a tragic launch.
Yeah, it was. Yeah. And by the way, straight up on them too, because I went to the event where I think it was at that time it would have been it wasn't the GDC, it was PAX, and they were like the Overwatch killer on the outside of their paperwork, and I was all, oh man, don't call somebody out, make your own game. Overconfident and paid the penalty. I really did like the Battleborn gameplay, the format. I actually quite enjoyed it, and it was sad to see that go. And that's not the only one that's gone. The Crew did, like he just said, those kind of games. It does suck. I personally just believe that any developer moving forward, and Unreal could help this, Game Engines guys could help this, where they just sort of build it into building the game. What occurs at the end, and maybe even say that when you're talking about the game in your trailers or what have you. It's just or at some point in the future where we have a package prepared, and we will be we will be sort of putting this out there in the future, someday in the future when it all goes away. But yeah, it's too bad, man. Battleborn was, Gigantic's coming back, which is crazy, because I was there.
Really?
Yeah, Gigantic come back in a couple days now, and I was there for I got to interview them. It was one of the first interviews I ever did, and they're coming back in just a couple days. That's a good cheap price on that too. I think it's $19. It's not a terrible price for that either. Let's see. Moving on from there. So we got those out of the way. We got Kate's question. Go ahead.
I did just actually somewhat on the topic of interesting simulator games. I did want to give a shout out to a game that launched in I just remembered launched in February called News Tower. Though it did launch in early access. So there's a caveat there. But you play as a 1930s news editor at a newspaper in New York City.
Oh, that's cool.
And you have to sort of choose what to sort of editorialize, and you have to hire certain beat reporters to cover certain beats and whatnot. And then you sort of start, as they start to develop skills and stuff, you start to sort of develop emergent narratives or relationship with them. Like this is like Ace Spade, my ace reporter or whatever. He's doing all these things, like in a way that's sort of similar to like XCOM, where you develop these emergent stories with your soldiers.
Right.
Oh yeah.
Like you start to develop these sort of relationships with these sort of faceless NPCs. It's a really cool game that people should take a look at.
Is it early access, did you say?
Yes, unfortunately, at this point.
Yeah, early access is hard. What do you get for early access, though? You get like a chapter, or is it an open game in the way that like you can continue to, like, is it open world in the way that you can continue to play that location, or is it a timed early access? One chapter, do you know?
I'm not actually. I don't remember actually.
Looks like they did add an endless mode in a recent patch. So
because I don't know about you guys, but the one game that I feel got really hurt by early access, and I don't know if it's going to recover, is the Shadow of a Doubt, the cyberpunk pixel art.
Oh, right.
Detective, crime detective game. Yeah.
Oh.
I feel like it would have done much better being complete because there were some gaps in the gameplay for the early access. So, been really nice. I did want to ask you guys, when we're looking at games coming up in the future here, is there any game in particular you're looking forward to 2024?
Stalker 2, man.
Oh,
Stalker
yeah.
2.
I'm on the Stalker 2 train.
This month
in the past for that one.
Yeah.
This month, Ayuden Chronicles is coming up towards the end of the month.
To Game Pass as well, which is interesting.
Yeah.
For Ayuden? Game Pass,
Yeah.
am I pronouncing
Yeah,
that right?
Ayuden Chronicles, the main one. Yeah, I thought only the side game. The side game came out on Game Pass, but I didn't think they would get the main one in
Harold
there too.
Halibut is coming out on Game Pass. That stunned
Oh
me.
shit!
I was not expecting that at all. Yeah.
That's going to be a good one, too.
Yeah, that game looks... It reminds me of Armacrog, a game I covered like
Is it the
right
one with
when
the
I started.
like,
Yeah, it's the
claymation?
3D, and Armacrog had some issues, but it was like that style of older, taking photos of the characters you move around, stop frame kind of
cool.
animation.
Yeah.
Harold looks good. Well,
Yeah, the demo was really,
motion.
really nice.
I feel always bad when I say it looks good because it does not look good. It's not supposed to look good. It looks warbly. Every character looks weird. It's on purpose that way. But yeah, Game Pass and PlayStation Plus both hit it off. They both had. I'm sorry, I can't remember PlayStation Plus's game, but there was a game on PlayStation Plus I was pretty surprised was coming out there too. So there is some good deals.
Oh, it's
on
that
those.
one. Like it was his father's story or something that he did in the game. It was like a 2D
Oh, is it
side scroller you mentioned
the
in
Bayak
your
voice actors game?
Yeah.
It
I
is
think so,
because
yeah.
I didn't know that until I had already done the video. Yeah,
Like
you're
a
right.
Metroidvania.
Zao something. Yeah.
Looks like Prince of Persia. So, yeah.
So
Yeah.
speaking of that, you guys are hearing all the rumors about a Prince of Persia game being made by the Dead Cells developers. You guys have you guys seen all
very
that
weird.
news? Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I like the idea, man. I like the idea of these merc teams coming in. You watch them do it.
Merc
Yeah, you
team.
watch it.
Yeah.
It's true. It's like Green Team. Green Team. We need Green Team. SEAL Team 6.
Yeah,
I just,
outsourcing.
yeah, I like the idea of saying, and especially if it isn't. Now, bear with me, because this is going to go somewhere no one wants to go. But the idea of seeing Dead Cells, liking it, and a team saying, hey, we have Assassin's Creed, Prince of Persia, and we would love you to make it. Now, there's a rumor that a new Splinter Cell will be shown at this next week's Ubisoft event. It would be crazy to me if all of the starts and stops that we've seen for a new Splinter Cell end up turning out to be some other company handling Splinter Cell than Ubisoft.
What if it's Kojimbo? He said he was going to do a
dude. That's
espionage
just it.
game.
Imagine if Kojima walks out
I'm
and he's
down.
like, Splinter
Yeah.
Cell. He uses his translator. He says it in English anyway. He's like, Splinter Cell, and the translator's like, Splinter Cell.
They're still doing the remake though, right? Of the original Splinter Cell.
Dude, I'm telling you, Splinter Cell is so everywhere that I have no clue what they're doing. Because there was a VR game, right, that was coming at one point too. And I think Ubisoft has made it pretty clear they're done attempting the VR space. So, but I don't know. What would you guys want to see in a new Splinter Cell, man? Like
Open world outposts.
I would want to see them
You are
move on
lying.
from Sam Fisher.
That is a lie.
I'm lying.
You are
I'm
lying. Okay, because I was like, what? Okay, he's lying. Go
I
ahead,
want it to be
Silver.
pure stealth, man. Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah,
Silver.
pure stealth.
Yeah, it's got to be pure stealth.
Yeah.
What were
I
you
would
saying,
want him
Silver?
to move on from Sam Fisher. I think it's pretty clear
Ooh.
Michael Ironside can't do it anymore. And so as a result, just move it on to a new one. Like have him pass the torch. Like maybe still, if we can bring in Ironside, still have him there as like the gruff sort of, I don't know, leader or whatever,
Mentor,
to the new one.
That's not how
They
I
did.
do it.
They did kind of. They did kind of set it up. I don't see other people moving on with that character, and I don't necessarily see the character being that integral to Splinter Cell as such. He was integral to it while Ironside was there, but without Ironside, I don't really see Sam Fisher as that integral to Splinter Cell because then the personality isn't really there.
right?
That he infused with it.
And it would be fun and fresh if you said, "Oh, here's a new, maybe younger character that's learning from Sam Fisher. They have a different style, therefore you have a different gameplay thing." Yeah.
I just don't know. Okay, so here's where we get into the IP discussion. At some point, I'm not saying that Sam Fisher is all that Splinter Cell is. I'm just saying that Splinter Cell isn't necessarily as big because it hasn't been around. And I think a lot of the old gamers would put more. There might be more discussion and excitement if it was him than if it wasn't. Especially 100%. When we saw
unquestionably, because he does have brand recognition. He is like an icon in terms of like video game characters. So I think you're undoubtedly correct there.
So I could see Ubisoft saying we want him. I know Ubisoft has stated now that their lie, which it was a lie, he was ill. It was very now it's known that he was very sick at the time, so he couldn't do that Splinter Cell. I would just love them to just get his face, or have him just do the voiceover. I mean, we see it done in movies all the time where people read afterwards because they can't get the audio where they're filming movies, and it works fine. I would like him. I will say if they did a Splinter Cell and they said, it's now Mike Barnes or whatever, I'd be like, it's not really for me. Like I'm okay with Sam Fisher being the guy.
I think it's also that I really enjoyed the co-op campaign they made for Conviction with Archer and Kestrel as characters. Neither of whom were Fisher, but I felt that was fairly solid, and I think that proved to me that Splinter Cell can work without Fisher.
Remember in the old days when you would get two console versions of a game that were completely different, and Splinter Cell was one of them. I think it was. I can't remember. But you'd get
there were multiple different versions of Double Agent.
You would just get a different, for whatever reason, technically aside, something like that. Pitman, $5 super chat. Just want to thank you all for all the love hanging out in the Discord. Yeah, it's been a blast, man. I appreciate everybody jumping into the Discord. Like I said, if you become a YouTube member, you get access to Discord as well. You can yak with us, long as you ain't a jackass, which we don't get, which is actually pretty nice. So moving on from there. Let's talk a little bit about analog games for a second. Michael. Arkham Living Card game is probably one of the best games ever made.
Yeah. I have you to blame for me getting into that one, so.
It's very difficult to describe to some people sometimes because it's like a mini light role-playing game because it's got those choices at the end of scenarios. When you jumped into it, though, as a Magic fan, and some of these guys have played Magic. I'm not a big Magic fan, but it is a different style of game, but it still has the card collecting because you're leveling up your character. Did you find yourself liking it because it had Magic similarities, or did you find yourself liking it because it was not Magic and it was a different style of game? I guess is what I'm saying. When you played it, were you like, oh, it's like Magic in this way? Or were you actually was it different enough that that's why you liked it? Because I never really asked you why you liked it. I saw you post, we talked back and forth, but.
Yeah, I think it's a little bit of both. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I actually don't own a ton of the campaigns itself. Like I only own the Dunwich campaign and some of the standalone expansions at the moment, but I did get a ton of the Investigator expansions because I wanted more card options to be able to express myself through the deck building aspect. And that's where I found the most enjoyment. And also the fact that it's just a really, really good, it's just a really, really well-designed game. Like their ability to turn, analog and board game mechanics into like a very specific feeling they're going for is very, very impressive. I think like one mission in particular from the Dunwich campaign is the one where you're on the train and like the cards are leaving behind you. Like that one in particular, like stuff like that is like so cool. So yeah, I definitely have to say it's probably the deck building aspect and that my Magic the Gathering sense, that's sort of what attracted me to it. But overall, it's just an excellent game.
So, and this goes to the DLC question that we have for video games, but it's also, to me, something I'm seeing in board games, and it's making me get pretty angry at times. So in board games, we're starting to get a lot of early access or Kickstarter. We're not starting; we've always had them. But there's definitely ones where you're seeing the prices accelerated to a massive amount and all this kind of stuff. Do you ever find yourself when it comes to either early access on video games, because this is something we were talking about just with Shadow of a Doubt, do you ever find yourself, whether it be board games or video games, holding off because something is early access? Or are you still in the innocence phase kind of thing, where you're still like, I'll give to get kind of stuff?
I mean, luckily we're in like a time where there's so many people creating content, and there are creators that are getting early access to this stuff and being able to do previews and things like that. I think like I do my due diligence and just making sure that if it is an early access game, that I know I'm going to enjoy the content that's there already. Like, to be honest, even if it's a game that's early access and I buy into it and I get a massive amount of enjoyment out of it and I feel like I got my money's worth,
right?
Even if I don't revisit the game once it's a little bit more complete, I don't feel like I'm at a loss, to be honest. It really depends on the game. Like, there are definitely those where if they have a really, really big roadmap and stuff like that, I may not even buy into it because I may not want to wait for that long till that stuff comes out. But if there's enough substance there from the get-go, and I know I'll get my money's worth out of that, then I don't really have much of an issue with it.
Have you found
yourself, for me personally,
jumping into digital? Do you jump into digital board game or digital card collecting games very much, whether it be Magic or whether it be something like what Slay the Spire has cards, right? Monster Train. Do you find yourself? You do find yourself transferring that love from analog to digital?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I after I stopped playing paper Magic, I did play a ton of Magic the Gathering Arena, and like occasionally I'll go back every now and then when there's a really, really interesting set that comes out. But I have sort of transitioned that love of Magic to more smaller, compact stuff, sort of like the roguelites and the Balatros and Slay the Spires, and that's sort of where I get my cardboard crack fix, I guess, even though it's digital.
Dude, there's something about being able to play any card game or any multiple piece game on a digital system and just have it set up. Setup is fun the first time, but after that, my brain is constantly anxious because I want to start. And Legendary is a favorite of mine, and its startup
Legendary is fantastic.
But its startup with all the cards is brutal sometimes, depending on the character. And you're looking through at these icons that are, if the light isn't perfectly on him, you're like, is that a 4 or is that a / Wolverine or is that a, and you're set. And then when you go to the video game version, gunk, and it's,
I know
it's all done for you. It's so nice.
Yeah, I mean, it's the same thing with like stuff on Tabletop Simulator where everything's scripted. Yeah, and like Warhammer Kill Team is just the setup is a big hurdle, and there's like so many quality of life stuff that you're able to get off digital that it's just you can't do. I mean, it's one of the reasons why I bought Gloomhaven digitally, and I don't own the physical board game because it's just a massive space taker. Right. And it's just so much easier on digital.
That's what I'm waiting for, a Brimstone version, because Brimstone's one of my favorite game of all time, and I have all the expansions, but you put it, or Talisman, you put it on a table and it's not one table, it's like 5 tables.
No, yeah. Right.
Yeah. And I was playing Brimstone one day and we had 4 plastic tables plus the dinner table put up. And
I was looking because I haven't played that game before. Is that Shadows of Brimstone? Is that like the Western?
Yeah.
Okay.
But it's Western that then, because the entire thing is there, it's mini role playing. So like you'll go, you can spend time in the town doing stuff and all that. But then, because my wife isn't into, doesn't really grasp the D&D. Like that's one step a little weird. But in this, I caught her, making the occasional like yeehaw sound, and I was like, ha, gotcha. You're role playing a little bit.
Gotcha.
And in Brimstone, Shadows of Brimstone, you also get expansions because you're going into these dimensional rifts. So you have a futuristic one, or go to, Asian-inspired swamps, with like ninja you're fighting. So you can have a little mix of everything. It's a lot like Talisman.
That's cool.
But it's the cost is... Because I was growing up with Games Workshop games, and they were already $79. You'd buy Blood Bowl or something, and you get a big box, a lot of miniatures, but you're talking a price that made, at the time, video games look cheap. And now, some of those games, especially on Kickstarter, end up, I don't know if you guys saw this, but Horizon Zero Dawn has a game, or Forbidden West has a game coming out, and the price was like, are you kidding me with this? I mean, just
there's more and more video game.
Stuff.
Yeah, there's more and more video game adaptations.
Mm-hmm.
Like Rainbow Six, it actually is getting
Dying Light.
Dying Light. Yeah, the Kickstarter stuff is interesting. I mean, like it comes down to like the right way and a wrong way to do Kickstarters. I think it is a very, very useful thing, but I think there are certain companies that really do sort of, prey on that FOMO.
Yeah.
And then ultimately, just the nature of Kickstarter, especially through the pandemic, they just don't end up delivering, or at least delivering multiple years down the line than what they promised. So yeah, it's unfortunate, but it's just sort of how it's become.
Yeah, it is how it's become. Johnny, you still do board game weekends with your parents once a month?
We not weekly, but we play Seven Wonders recently.
Oh yeah,
almost weekly, which is a shorter format.
Yeah.
So it's kind of like you can get a game in a half hour, and so that's pretty enjoyable. I do Scythe with some other friends from work every now and then. You guys know that one?
Yeah. Yeah. Good game.
Yeah, it's like sort of resource plus some tile conquering.
You can also
stuff.
do story campaigns with that now with the additional modules. That are really cool.
Yeah. Yeah, I know people who have played that game solo now.
Yeah, that's
interesting.
That is one cool thing, is how much you can do solo now, from D&D to ChatGPT can be a DM. I mean, we have ChatGPT be our bad guy in a lot of co-op board games. You just upload the manual, read the manual, and you just say now you're the bad guy, and that way I can play, because I'm usually the guy who buys the game, and who gets stuck reading the rules? Me. And so a lot of times I'm the bad guy. I'm Darth Vader in Imperial Assault, and I'm like, I want to be the hero, man. I don't want to be out here always the bad guy, but nobody wants to read the rules. And that's one place where I've used ChatGPT a ton, is upload the PDF and then just say, you're the character. That is one place where I do think it's awesome to see sort of the combining of AI and stuff. I know AI's got a lot of complaints, but I can tell you, as somebody who buys a lot of games, board games in particular, there's certain companies that can't write a rule set to save their life.
Yeah.
Like, I love Apocalypse. What is it called? Survive the Apocalypse, is that what it is? It's tiles you put down, you explore in your Scooby-Doo van. I think it's something of the Apocalypse. And I got to tell you, we were so confused, and I went and looked it up, and it was instant. The results in Google were like, this is a great game, but my God.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Fantasy Flight, who I always complain about, their erratas. I just have to know the moment I get the game to immediately go to the website, grab their big 14 pages of mistakes. Oh, no, actually, you take 4 turns. And you're like, Jesus Christ, you said 2 in the rule book. Like, everything has changed now. There's been some frustration where, and I try to mitigate that by being prepped, but sometimes I also want to get a new game. And then, it's almost like a video game with bugs. It's so weird to think of board games with bugs, but that actually, for sure, is a thing.
And they get patches.
And they get patches.
Updates.
They get patches, or they get a revised version. Living Card Game.
Yeah.
They did their revised version here recently, and I was like, "Oh, come on, guys!" It wasn't much different either. It was sort of the way it goes with that kind of stuff. Have you guys been playing any digital card games lately, like Slay the Spire? There any others that have come out recently that you guys have jumped into? Like that, or Monster Train? Balatro.
Balatro's the main one that I've been playing.
Balatro is a good one.
Yeah, same.
I played one. It's not a card game, but it's kind of similar style. I'll have to look up the name. It's kind of like a chess-based roguelite. No.
I think I know which one you're talking about. I can't remember the name though.
There's a game I'm really interested in playing called Backpack Heroes or Backpack Battles. Oh man, no, not the other one. Battles, where it's like an auto chess, but inventory management with inventory Tetris.
Yeah, it's essentially a PvP version of Backpack.
Dear God, no.
Yeah, exactly.
Backpack Tetris for the win. Spending 6 hours in your fucking backpack is not my idea of fun, but that's cool. That's cool. I do think it is cool to be able to see the mix, because I know when I was growing up and stuff, with dice is a big one. There was that other game when I was on the DLC podcast. Jeff Canada was telling me about a game that's just dice that you roll. It reminded me of Dragon Dice from TSR, or Dice Throne, which was one of my favorite games of all time. I saw your reviews, Dice Throne. What did you think of Dice Throne Adventures? Because I saw your video on it. Haven't got
my
to
friends
see it.
and I just love it. Like, we played it through it twice, and we got all the legacy content unlocked. Okay. So yeah, we really. Yeah, and I have the upcoming X-Men missions backed as well, so that's coming this year. So yeah, they have some really, really good co-op stuff, and it's nice to have a cooperative way to use the Dice Throne characters, because we don't always enjoy doing the PvP stuff.
Legit good. Dice Throne came fantastic. Out of the blue. I thought it was going to be either too basic or maybe just for whatever reason not be for me. But once you start realizing about the upgrade on, just lay the card of your upgrade over your character, and then you know, I like the, you know, if you got a short straight or what have you, it doesn't get too complicated. But it has. That's what I was going to say. You can add your own strategy to it, which is awesome.
But it's easy enough to explain to people who don't normally play a lot of board games, where it's just like, oh yeah, it's competitive Yahtzee, and it's like,
that
okay,
is exactly right. Yeah,
it's like, oh, I understand what that is, and it's like, I even was able to get my parents to play it with us and stuff like that. So it's like, it's easy enough for people who don't play games to get into, but you know, the more you play it, you do sort of see all these different things, all these mechanisms click together, and it's very, very satisfying.
Especially when you get a character like the Shogun or the Samurai recently played, and he has like shame, and at first I was like, oh, you know, it's sort of like everything else. But then I started looking at other things on that character class, and it's like add shame here, add shame there, and I was like, oh wait, you know, there's actually some stuff here. Like one of them is if you choose not to roll 3 times, you can you add honor to yourself. And I was like, oh, interesting. So instead of trying to get the better dice roll, you just forego that, do a little damage, and now you have honor, and you can stack that, and things start building up from there. We've had some awesome games. I hope there's a digital version of that coming, because we have had like a Samurai versus Thor versus Scarlet Witch versus Loki, and you'd think the Samurai would get his ass kicked, and he's won like 50% of the matches. So you get this awesome thing where Thor may be good at this, but this other character can, you know, do this thing. And it, like you said, it's simple to explain to somebody, but if a person wants to add strategies, then
there's depth.
Sky's the limit. Yeah. And there's also
I'm pretty sure
we haven't done team ups as much, but
well, that's actually where most of my friends and I play. We usually do the 2v2, and we really enjoy that. But I believe one of the designers actually did mention that they are looking into a digital app or a digital way to play, because I think they also understand just how big it would be for their game.
Dude, $24 to $34 plus later, you know, I would be. Man, I would be into that. I would be into that.
And like people play, like there's a competitive scene for the game, like, so that would just make it even better. Like the people play over like webcam and stuff like that, and there's like Discords that have like yearly tournaments for the game.
Yeah, that's crazy to see that kind of stuff. Any other card games? Go ahead, Silver.
Sentinels of the Multiverse is one I still play on occasion.
Sentinels of the Multiverse. Yeah,
I played like
pretty good. I had a couple issues. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that I played the standalone version of Scythe on PC, like the game they did, which is nice because you can play solo versus bots and just do like a quick, dirty game. You know, if you want to burn 15 minutes or something, get your mind off something. And it's really nice because it's very structured. You know, they've scripted everything, and it's really streamlined. So it turns what's a 2-3 hour game normally with a group into here's a single player mode where you can fast forward turns and, you know, just like do a quick and dirty version.
Too of when you bots, because that is one thing missing from a lot of these games is bots. I've noticed a lot of them there won't be AI, and I got to tell you, I'd rather play against terrible AI that could at least do the moves versus none.
Yeah,
because there's a lot of times where I do want to play a Pandemic. Pandemic's got it, but let's say some other game. There is a time where you get that board game version, and you're like, I don't care if the character does almost nothing. And in fact, AI again, currently there's about 1,000 AI apps for the Amazon device as well as ChatGPT that is for certain games. So you can go and be like Twilight Imperium, this AI, and you have the Amazon device. I'm not going to say it out loud so it doesn't respond to me, but it will play it, and it will play that character for you. So you can play it. It's like, put it in the goddamn, put it in an app. I would pay a little bit of money even if, board game sellers sold those kind of things to people, because luckily Fantasy Flight does their digital sort of keepers, I guess. I don't even know what you call those, but like Imperial Assault has the digital tracker where you tell it where you're moving and it'll save your game for you, which I think is pretty cool. That's the other thing. You got a game with campaign and you don't finish it, what are you going to do? We've been taking pictures of our board game, and I'm like, enough.
That's what we do.
Is that what you did? Yeah.
We take pictures of all of our stuff.
Yeah. So you have like 800 pictures, and you're all, no, he was on this spot. No, he was on this spot. Yeah, that's awesome. Anything else that's random to discuss about games, board games, physical? What have you been doing, Silver? Do you and Lemon get together to do any board games recently?
Not recently, sadly.
Not recently?
No. I mean, we do the digital one we still play is either Scythe or Sentinels of the Multiverse when we get the chance to.
Yeah, I've found that with COVID gone, the desire to get together is slightly lower from people, and it's been a little harder this year to get people to do stuff because when you're introverted, you still want to be asked for the most. You want to be able to turn. You want to be like, please ask me so I can tell you no. And I think 2022, 23, people were just chomping at the bit to do something digitally. Like we did so many board games, D&D over Discord.
Yeah.
And then over time, it's like once things returned, to whatever their new normal is, then it's a little harder, to get those kind of get-togethers to happen. And certainly physically, it's hard, And like Michael was saying,
I think it might have been.
It can be hard.
I think it was the opposite for my group. Like my group was.
Oh, really?
Yeah, like we wanted to get back to physical stuff as soon as possible, just because like we were trying to do some tabletop role-playing stuff over digital, and like I personally really enjoy it just because at least when I DM stuff, like using virtual tables, like they can do some really, really cool stuff that you just can't really do as easily, not without making your own terrain and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And physical. And my friends just sort of more enjoy that social aspect of being in the same room together and role playing. So
dude,
we really enjoyed getting that together.
The sweat you're creating. I got to be physical, man. I got to be.
Well, it's all about like the micro expressions and like everything that you can just see in face to face. Like you don't get that over digital. So
yeah, and the cool thing, we use our TV, so I mirror the Android device to the TV if we do a murder mystery game. We've been doing a lot of the boxed murder sets that are like they're black ones. They're called like monthly murder or something. Those things primo.
I heard those things are really, really good.
Dude,
I was watching a video as well.
Videos, yeah, it's got videos of like the interrogations from the cops that you watch, and you're looking for their micro expressions or whatever. You're like, I think she's lying, and you note that down. Sherlock Holmes consulting detective in the future, basically. But yeah, that kind of stuff is, being with somebody is different. Hearing the dice or hearing the cards played or what have you, there's something.
The tactile feel of like rolling digital dice. You can't compare it to rolling physical dice. So. Yeah.
Or you can't trust somebody. It's like, how many times you roll? You got to play your sound through my system so I can hear. Go ahead, John.
I have a question for you guys. What's your opinion on those like video game based tabletop games? So, Dark Souls has one, Fallout has one. Are they like just cash grabs or are they solid?
There has been cash grabs for sure.
Yeah, there definitely has been cash grabs.
But I think
Sea of Thieves got one as well, I think.
No way, did they? Because that actually interests me. I'll check that out. Go ahead, Michael. What do you think of like we said a little earlier, Horizon Zero Dawn kind of stuff?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's great for the just trying to get more people into the board game scene, because obviously that's going to be the biggest thing they gravitate towards. If their favorite game gets made into a board game, they're going to, of course, most likely be able to check it out. It is unfortunate when it does end up being a cash grab, though, and usually with a lot of the games, video game stuff is being funneled through Kickstarter now, so they are able to sort of prey a little bit more on that FOMO. But like overall, I think it's nice. I personally haven't played too many of them though, just because I play both video games and board games a lot. So like if I am going to play a video game, I want the video game version of it. I don't really need the board game version of it. But I have given stuff like the Dark Souls board games a try, and they're all right. They're like not terrible by any means, but you can't really compare them, I guess, to the original medium, right?
Yeah, because I don't know about you guys. That's what video games are to me. So in the old days when I was growing up, it was D&D, which was completely, well, I call it D&D. It was usually Warhammer or Vampire or something, but it was flexible to the nth degree. So whenever anybody was saying, I'm not, it sounds like you are more of a digital table fan. I'm not, it's theater of the mind for me. But then I got video games, which when they started out, they were pretty rough and you couldn't do a bunch. But then you have GTA now where it's like, oh my God, you can do, or you have Dying Light. And now the opposite is true, where I get a board game and I'm slightly not disappointed, but I find myself sometimes chafing at not enough rules, which I think is why I like Brimstone, because it is mini light role playing. And I think and Gloomhaven, those kind, and the other one, Descent.
Oh yeah,
Where there's a bit of, you go to the town and you're like, well, where's the tile for the town? There is no tile for the town. That's your brain. Yeah. And you just look at the sheet and you're like, oh, I see. So there's a little mixture there, which I think is awesome, because I am accustomed to some of those games where there's, very specific rules and stuff like that. And sometimes you're all, I wish I could why can't I do this? Like, that seems weird that I can't do that. Yeah. But yeah, Johnny, I think overall you just have to look online, because I think there's a good tracking. I think people call out BS pretty quick. The only thing I have noticed is the escalation of DLCs in Kickstarter, because I did a successful Kickstarter for cards, and we did need some DLC to get people, they're getting something, right? But some of these are all 10 expansions, and then if you unlock the Uber Duber expansion, we dip the fucking miniature in metal, and just like your brain is like, dude, there's too much. Go ahead, Silver. Sorry, I interrupted.
I think probably the best thing you can do, in my opinion, is look up YouTube and watch like a demonstration of how the game is played.
Oh, for sure.
And then get it like a sense. Oh, this is how the game plays. Like,
watch the British guy. What's his name?
The engagement or whatever.
He does video games now. How it's played. He's good too. There was
how it's played is good. Yeah.
Yeah. There's a British guy who has now gotten into game documentaries more, but he's one of the bigger ones, and he got me onto games that are alternatives for Twilight Imperium. If you're not a big fan of 12-hour setups, and his style of explaining the game is really good. It's funny. It's like, very concise, and he walks you through it. Yeah, you definitely need that for a board game, because some of the board games will have some asynchronous move that you're not aware of, or the rules don't do the greatest job. By the way, Twilight Imperium, my first ever experience with asynchronous moves, and it was the most confusing 8 hours of my life, because we were so accustomed to you go, then you go, then you go, then you go, and I remember flipping the goal card, and they took one, and then the other players can take their second step, and I was like, when though? Oh, right now. I was like, that doesn't make any... No one would break the rules of having somebody go on another person's turn, would they? And now it's, now it's such a thing. What else do we have to talk about on games? What other big... Like, is there any big news?
There was a
games
Final Fantasy 16 expansion pack. They announced more stuff for it, which is super exciting to me.
Or something? You said... Or somebody...
There's more... Yeah. So the one thing, I love Final Fantasy 16 combat, but... It was very, very fleshed out. They give you a lot of tools for you to do a lot of things, but they don't really utilize it much at all. There's a lot of... It was very easy, but there wasn't a lot of gameplay. Like, there wasn't a lot of gameplay in that game, you know what I mean? Aside from, like, some hunts and other stuff, it's mostly the dungeons you're getting are part of the main story. Otherwise, you're just doing dialogue and stuff. But they had one DLC already come out, which is more gameplay oriented. But in this new one, which has a lot of story as well, and a new summon, a new icon or whatever, icon power, which is supposed to be like a machine gun or some shit, basically. They are also adding kind of like a floor based roguelike-ish type of thing, where you gain upgrades only within the thing. And there's style points there too, where you can get like S ranks and stuff depending on how stylish and how your combos work out and stuff like that. And if you get S rank on all of them, you unlock like a secret boss. And they mentioned a lot of cool stuff for it. That's exactly what I wanted for the game. Is just I would love to go back into it. I just want, I don't care much about the story stuff. I thought the story was great and I was fine with it. But I just wanna play the game more. I want to play. The combat was very, very nice. You know what I mean? So I'm excited about that.
Yeah, did you do that one, Michael? Did you do Final Fantasy 16?
No, I didn't. Like, I unfortunately was not a Final Fantasy kid growing up, so like this nostalgia of those they don't really grab me too much.
Yeah, understood.
But like the only Final Fantasy I've really, really sunk my teeth into, to be honest, is Final Fantasy 14 online. So,
damn, you and Johnny will get along perfect.
The Limsa Laminsa.
Yeah,
enjoyers.
Yeah, exactly.
What the fuck, man? With 16's getting so 7. So we figured out Rebirth is not getting DLC. Is that correct? Is that what we figured out?
That's what they
16?
Said.
Okay, so 16 is still their prime Final Fantasy. Really, it's the one getting the DLC. It's the one getting expansions or what have you. Where Final Fantasy Rebirth is sort of its own thing.
And they might do sequels for 16, like they've been talking about expanding that.
You mean world. Like 16x2 or whatever, like they did with
13x, whatever they did. Yeah, and 10 and stuff.
I don't know if anybody chat can pipe up. Did you guys? I didn't feel like 16 hit hard enough that they would do that. I thought 16 also didn't sell the greatest.
I don't think
it wasn't. I think 16 was sort of not what's the term? Not divergent. It wasn't like split down the center, but it feels like it maybe didn't hit as well because that story
didn't
was
hit as well in the
one.
beginning. But now you're getting the whole thing where a game has been out for a while and people are going back and being like, "Oh, that game was actually really great" or whatever. You know how people switch out. I don't know. Some games people don't like in the beginning.
Yeah,
plus the Final Fantasy fandom is just ridiculous. They're all over the place. They say every game is trash and every game is great, and you know what I mean.
Oh, you mean because well, even I don't do that, but even I have my favorite, and I'm not even a Final Fantasy fan, but Boy Band one is my favorite. So I get it. I think 16's combat was good enough that a roguelike fits for 16. It doesn't fit for. I'm not gonna want to play Rebirth in that format.
Oh no, because oh my god, Rebirth, I love that combat, but it falls apart at some moments.
That's one of the first games ever where it doesn't matter how much caffeine I had, I was confused about what was going on. Like it was just so heavy with shit.
Dude, try facing off against like 10 tomberries or whatever the fuck, or 10 of those like plants that shoot shit at you all the time. Oh my god,
you're swinging your sword, which is glistening, gold, shimmering, gossamer shit behind it, and it was just like, dude. Sometimes I'm so glad it was. You could choose and slow it down a little bit. There were times where I was like, I don't know what's going on this screen. It is that busy. That's cool. So it's getting rogue. And do we know when? Do we know when that's getting?
That's a good question. Sometime in summer has the FF14 expansion. Yeah, I doubt they want to. Maybe after the FF14 expansion. I'm guessing.
Oh my god! Yeah, I forgot. I don't know how I forgot that one. But FF14 still got shit coming, right? Yeah.
It is interesting they're not doing a DLC for Rebirth because they did one for.
They did one for remake.
The remake.
I said they weren't, but that's just me saying I.
Okay.
Yeah, I heard. Yeah, I heard they weren't.
You heard.
Okay. Yeah, I'm not sure.
I kind of expected. I don't know about you, Abzi. I kind of expected them to do like you know how they did Yuffie becoming a playable character in the DLC. I kind of expected them to do it for
Sid,
the other character. I don't want to say who. I don't know if it's a spoiler.
Oh, gotcha. Yeah.
Or the character that shows up but isn't playable.
Yeah, the cool guy.
In Rebirth.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, that would be cool.
I was kind of hoping.
Sick.
Yeah.
Yeah. I
think Yuffie is awesome, dude. It's a great addition to it.
Yeah, and we have Final Fantasy 9 remake. People hinting at that. So I don't know I don't know what the hell's going on with that.
Okay, can you imagine? Remember, like they did 10, and they did X2, which was like everybody was a belly dancer, right?
They also did 13X2, I think, or something.
Did they? Oh yeah, Lightning
Returns, and then a third one,
and then Returns.
They're just balling on the Final Fantasy name. Now they're just dunking on people. They're like, "This is not the final form, bitches." We got XX2.
Just imagine 16, but with the dancers, like everybody, like.
Dude,
like they did X2.
Not 16, but Rebirth was the only one to ever make me feel weirdly uncomfortable. When there were times when Cloud would be talking in a cutscene and Tifa and what's her name would like get really close and
they
bend in and be like, "Hello,
you want to shower with us?"
Yeah, I was like, "Wow, this is not age for me." It didn't hit the right age.
Dude.
It was definitely. But I like the boy band one. So what can I mean, fuck, I'm a bad judge of that shit. Like, I don't know even what's cool to like. And the thing is with Final Fantasy, like we said, if you ask 10 people what makes Final Fantasy, you would genuinely get 10 different answers. They may have one or two overlaps, but Final Fantasies, there's so many weird things going on. Like, I forgot online is even a thing. So if you have Rebirth online and 16... That is a crazy amount of output, man, from from a group of developers. But that is
especially because 14 and 16 are by the same people.
Yeah,
dude.
What
CPU? Yeah, they're by the same Yoshi P.
And online, not 15. Sorry. 16
14
and online are the same people. Gotcha.
And they're just churning out shit like this new expansion. Yeah, this new expansion, I'm very excited. FF14 new expansion looks like they're going to address a lot of problems I had with Endwalker.
Do you guys feel sometimes So when I was growing up, there were certain names that were always attributed to RPGs. Like on the Sega Genesis, it might be Phantasy Star, Sword of Vermilion for a little bit of time. And then there was Dragon Quest. And it's so weird that Dragon Quest has been so lost in the dust, so absolutely just gone compared to Final Fantasy. Because it used to be where I would have friends where those were, you know, they were sort of like the dueling JRPGs. And is there even a new Dragon Quest? The last one I played was there is one coming this year. Was the Dynasty Warriors one. I can't even remember what it was, but the Dynasty Warriors ripoff. There is a new one coming out?
Let me confirm before I get my foot in my mouth.
I always confused Dragon's Quest with Breath of Fire, I think.
Or Mana.
Back in the day.
Secret of Mana.
Secret of Mana,
yeah.
Oh, yeah, there's a new Mana game
in my
coming
brain.
out. Yeah.
I think I'm confusing it with that one. Yeah, never mind.
You're confused, with one of the Mana ones.
Legends of Mana or something.
I mean, it's easy because they
have a similar style.
Yeah, they got a similar.
Yeah.
They got a similar.
I mean, I think the last
them.
Dragon Quest thing was like Dragon Quest Builders.
Yeah. Oh, I played that one
too.
Yeah, earlier this year.
Yeah. Speaking of playing something, did we all do the demo for Stellar Blade? Booty Blade.
Yes. Yes.
So, Absy had an issue with the latency on the attack button. You said that was your main issue.
I had
there were other issues, but that one technically was an issue.
That one was my technical issue. Yeah, but aside from that, it was just I'm like burnt out on the parry dodge kind of gameplay. Because I just thought it was going to be like a near Bayonetta type thing, so I was like, but I get moods, you know what I mean? Maybe by the time it's out, I'm in the mood to play one of those, you know what I mean?
No, I mean there's definitely times where I'm like Dark Souls'd out, games out, and I'm like, In fact, I will find myself, you know, somebody will send me a PR, and you can bet your ass, like I miss a lot of PR because I have multiple emails, and then you're just busy, and it's very easy to miss a PR. And sometimes I'll do a search and type in Souls-like, and so many pop up.
However, like,
I
gotta commend Stellar Blade for something it did very, 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 very well. And that's the hitboxes, dude. Have you noticed? Sometimes you'd be in the middle of a combo.
Pretty tight.
So you'd like be flipping and the attack would like graze you, it would like hit your ponytail, but you wouldn't get damaged, and you'd continue on with the combo. That was really, really cool. Yeah.
And on a game like that, it matters, right? On a game like that, good hitboxes
it's very
are like what
intimate.
Feels. Yeah. So it feels good because nothing's worse than blaming the game. I can blame myself all night long, but when I swing and it doesn't look like it's connecting, and maybe you die because of that, man. Late at night, you're just like, you just start getting really angry about it. Is there any other? What'd you say?
I said Final Fantasy 7. Has some of that issues for me too. It frustrates the shit out of me.
I mean, especially when it's high stakes, you know. That's why games like Surge and stuff like that I liked versus some other ones because maybe Surge was just awesome. Collecting people's body parts and taking them home, it cracks me up. But I felt like usually when I hit them. And then there's been other ones that I have played where I was a little. Were Liza P collision boxes good? They were good, right? Wasn't Liza P?
Yeah,
I felt theirs was good. Yeah.
Did you like?
I didn't have any issues.
Did you play?
I love Liza P. Yeah. Especially with the thing at the end. Yeah, the little teaser at the end. Like I'm very excited to see what that studio does next.
Dude, that game really just blows me away a little bit because I got to tell you, man, I always say demos are good, but boy, did that demo suck balls.
Oh, yeah.
The demo was not a good representation of that game.
Yeah, I heard the demo was rough. I didn't play the demo, so.
It wasn't only rough, there was something about the atmosphere and everything that wasn't hitting, and then I started, because Johnny played the demo, and Johnny's like, right, isn't that the one, Johnny? That you were? Yeah, and I remember agreeing with him, and then I maybe Game Pass or what have you, but he started playing. He's like, oh, no, this is actually really good. It was one of those times when the demo hurt it, I think, for a lot of people. They experienced that demo, and for whatever reason, it didn't really shine.
And I don't even know what it is. You know, it wasn't different than the main game, but there was something about getting past the demo content. That's when the game kind of kicks into circuit, because it takes you a little bit, you know, it is very strict with the parry window, and you know, you have to figure out how to kind of connect with it. So I think that was actually the problem with the demo, is that it was so quick that it didn't give you enough time to connect with the play style.
Maybe. Yeah. I mean, I'm sure it was that. There was something also about the location was terrible in the demo. It was like a box room. I
would say, though, that's actually Yeah. I would say that is a problem with the game itself.
Yeah, I did hear that too. Yeah,
I like the game a lot. And some of the settings are really cool, but I agree with you. Like, some stuff doesn't make sense, like from a, architectural standpoint. Like, why is there some stairs there?
You just say it. It was designed by me, because that is how I would design my castle. It'd just be a straight line.
Let's put a wall there.
Yeah, let's put a wall here. Miguel Nunez, $5 super chat. Awesome podcast. What do you guys think about Legend of Dragoon, the remake? I think I need to look it up. I did.
I like anything with spears.
Just in general, like
I love spear gameplay.
Remake. Go ahead.
Just like Dragoons don't generally have spears, or is it gameplay?
What do you mean?
Specific that I'm missing.
Wait, they do, right?
They do always.
No, Dragoons are mounted soldiers with rifles.
What the fuck?
Okay,
no,
I'm thinking what Abzi is thinking. It's like big lance.
No, those are not Dragoons.
Dragon fighter type.
Yeah, like Final Fantasy Dragoons and Legend.
I only know Dragoons from Final Fantasy 14 online.
Yeah, there you go, Mike.
Jumping.
Yeah.
I'm talking about real life Dragoons. They were from the Napoleonic Wars.
ACG's
18th century
nerdcast, but he is right. They are normally swords.
Yeah,
and
we just got
horseback.
actually. It's like actually,
but then
I was just confused.
Like, actually, these are video games, you jackass. No, I'm just joking. You're both right. You both got out of that one unscathed, or all three of you. Yeah, looking it up, I think that the thing about those JRPGs, they have to really have something special to get me into it. I even had a little bit of a hard time getting into Arise, and I turned out to really like it. But JRPGs are tough for me. Final Fantasy.
Yeah, they are really, really tough. I think the only one I really got into was honestly a Persona 5.
Persona 5 is good,
and that's only because it was like just because it's so different than what a traditional JRPG is, I think.
Yeah. Yeah, I guess it says something when the people are like, yeah, I'll play this one, and then you find out that's the one that everybody says is not in line with everything else. And you're all right,
exactly.
Well, that is sort of, there you go. Persona 5 was awesome. I know a lot of people like Persona 3 better. I found that out here recently with some people on the podcast. Really? I don't know if they're wrong or just bad people, but I personally thought 5 was better.
JRPGs is it's hard, especially if they're turn-based. It's hard for me to really play all the way through. There's just so much, and then the gameplay becomes repetitive.
Very, very long.
Right.
Very, very grindy sometimes.
A lot of. Yeah, exactly. There's only a few that really grab my attention.
So let's switch gears here as we wrap it up. Michael, you work out. You were talking about a gym simulator here that you want to play. What's your health routine? This is something we talk about a lot of times, just different stuff at the end of the podcast. Like, have you found something over the years that works for you, or have you switched it up a bunch? Or
honestly, it's a mental health thing. It's not so much the physical health for me. Because last year I actually had some pretty bad panic attacks for the first time in my life, and that's sort of when I really had to sort of take a look at my mental health, and that definitely put a halt on the physical health side of things. Because before that, it was very much I was one of those crazy psychos who went to the gym at 4:30 in the morning before work. So and so it was very much I had to sort of get out of a routine and sort of look inwards a bit more. So going to therapy has been great, and I'm slowly just in the past couple of months been getting back into the gym finally. So, but before that, even like it is a little bit tough just where I live to keep up with the gym routine, at least going out, just because it gets so cold in the winter here. Getting up in the morning into -40 weather is not exactly the greatest way to start your day. So, but yeah, I definitely am. And especially when now it's getting nicer out, I definitely enjoy going on for walks. Like walking and just putting on a good podcast or music is definitely sort of one of the highlights, to be honest, of the day, even as simple as something like that. And then honestly, trying to get sort of diet a little bit more under control. Trying to start just cook myself, because that's sort of one unfortunate habit that I've never been really great at is cooking. So I'm trying to get more into that side of things, and then trying to find alternative ways to sort of break up the gym, because the gym I find I sometimes get a little bit worn out on a specific workout or a specific program, and rather than switching programs, I definitely want to try to look for alternative ways to actually just be more physical. So later this month, I'm actually going to be starting a bouldering program to learn how to boulder.
Awesome.
So I've always been interested in rock climbing, and so I really want to try to get good at that. And so yeah, hopefully during the summer as well, I can do some other sort of recreational activities.
Go ahead.
Yeah. No, I had the same thing exactly happen where prior to like 2018, I was a huge gym bro type of guy, or like I just like always, just gym. And then some shit happened, and I had like a 2-month-long panic attack out of nowhere, and then it just fucking
rough, man.
Changed my life. Yeah,
you don't feel like yourself for a while.
No, it was scary. It was like you're
Yeah.
It was like you're away from your body, like looking inward, like looking outwards or some shit. Yeah.
Yeah. And the first time it happens, like you legitimately think you're having a heart attack. So you call the hospital. And
Go to the hospital.
That I went to, they didn't know it was wrong. And then I had the second panic attack. And it was only until the second time where they actually gave me drugs to sort of mitigate anxiety.
I went like 6 times, dude.
Yeah. And that's when the doctor was like, oh, it might be anxiety. And then I was like, oh, you know
what?
Did
you find that by not going to work out, they got, did one stop and that caused the panic attack to be even worse? Or did the panic attack cause you to stop working out, which then rolled down the hill into a pile of shit and just made everything bad?
I would say it's definitely the panic attack sort of halted everything else. Because it honestly just halted everything around my life. I had to literally just like take a week off work. I wasn't able to do social outings without getting, anxious.
Yeah.
And it wasn't until probably at least 4 or 5 months when I actually somewhat started feeling like myself. So it definitely was sort of an uphill battle. Meditation, honestly, has been just sort of a lifesaver. And I think both meditation and therapy, I think, is not just for something. And I think this is something that's important for mental health in general, is not to be reactive. Like, I don't think they need to be reactive things that you do when something bad happens. I think therapy and meditation are great for everyone who even is happy with their life, who has no issues in their life. I still think people can get some really, really great use out of it. Because right now, like I'm perfectly content. I haven't had any issues with panic attacks or anything like that in general. But I still meditate and I still go to therapy because it just is a useful tool to sort of keep that mental state and maintain it, because it really is about maintenance. Rather than sort of just waiting for something bad to happen and trying to solve it after the fact. And I think that goes with health in general, is just trying to be a little bit more proactive. I think it will be good for everybody, especially on the physical side of things. I mean, I see a lot of people that just like it's not so much going to the gym, getting physical just to be healthy now. It's all about an investment. So your later years are good, right?
Yeah.
Because it's all about a state of life, right? So yeah, that's sort of the main goal, is why I'm trying to sort of get back into the swing of things now.
I think a lot of people don't realize that half of the workout, I wish my diet was more in line, because I'd be 100 pounds, like, because I have to work out a ton because my diet is not in check and I eat at weird times. And then when it is in check, I feel good. And then it goes, something, how everything goes. Or I want to switch up and power lift, which then causes a whole different body scheme. We did have a pal, and he's open about this, so it's not talking out of pocket. I won't drop his name, but he totally, like, nothing, just like pretty laid-back guy, no real issues family-wise or anything. And one day he had a panic attack in the middle of a store, had no clue what was going on, no clue. Like, and this is a guy who isn't a hypochondriac, but he also isn't an ignorer of stuff. He was pretty general. Go to his occasional yearly checkups, and it changed him so much he moved out of the country. And it was generally for that. It was for social media. It was all that. There was just multiple things. You can't get away with social media from that. But it was all of these things. And he was a guy that just was pretty young, too. Like, there were at this time, he was, 25 or something like that. And it hit him out of the blue. Guy who never had him, had no clue what was going on. And I admit, the first couple times I heard it, I'm sure I've had those issues. But because am religious on working out, it probably burns out most of the time when I'm working out. You know, like, and I'm pretty vocal, so I don't hold things in or what have you. And I get lucky in that way. But he was too, for the most part. He was too. And it was weird because it changed people. I've never had one, and I hope to never have one. But when I saw him have one, it was game changing. I mean, it changed his life. He changed careers. He changed, and it was almost like a brain injury in a way, where you see, you know, sometimes you'll hear about somebody having a brain injury and their attitude changed. His general attitude was somewhat the same, but his entire desire for everything changed, and it was pretty. I mean, you rarely get those changes other than heart attack victims, and that's one of the things I've wondered about. A lot of people have heart attacks suddenly get in shape. You know, the doctor will be like, "Hey, you had a heart attack, but you're fine." I've met a lot of dads who've had like a small heart attack, and suddenly they're in shape. You'll see them in shape suddenly and be like, "What happened?" "Well, I had a heart attack." Blah blah blah. There's something about a panic attack that is in that same general. Something about it makes the body just go, "Dude, shit's wrong right now. Like, you need to fix whatever's going on."
Yeah, there was a while, like a year or two after the my panic attack episode, where I became so in tune with every single thing happening inside my body. Like I became so any change in the body, I would feel it a lot. So going to the gym was super hard because my heart rate would go up because I'm exercising, and then I'd get anxious.
I stopped drinking coffee for over a year because of it.
Yeah, me too.
You can't have caffeine,
and it takes so long to rewire your brain to kind of just
be fine with that
normal body. It took me years.
You ever had palpitations, which is the idea of laying down, you can hear you feel and hear your heart. And man,
and
I've
like
gotten
skip
so
a beat,
accustomed
and you're
to
like,
it.
what the
Oh yeah, skip a beat. And I remember one day sitting there and it was like boom, boom, boom. Boom, boom. And I was like, whoa, what the shit was that?
What the
It was like, oh my
dude?
God. And then I looked it up and they're like, it's completely normal. I was like, well, thank God. But with the panic attack thing, whatever it is so major that it's obvious because a lot of people I've met who've had them have changed. It's true too, because it really has been that their change has been very close to the level of change that I've noticed from friends who have had heart attacks. And luckily I haven't had one yet. But it's one of those things where when I look at it and I see those changes, I wish we could make them early. It's very hard to make them without a life change. It just is. Humans work that way. You know, it's almost like you wish you could hit a simulator, like stress anxiety stimulator, so you could have it and then go, okay, awesome, this has taught me my lesson, I'm gonna fix my stuff. But I'm glad you did, because like, as somebody who loves working out, loves the gym, dude, it is funny that just a little bit of going outside, and especially when you're somebody like me where the entire world is piped to you through a 42-inch screen. And I remember one time when I was starting YouTube, I walked outside and something was bothering me in YouTube somewhere, and I'm pretty vocal, so it normally doesn't. But I remember going out on my deck going, wait a minute, the real world isn't behind that screen. It's that screen. There's nothing in the real world that this screen has any impact on. Why am I stressed out when I'm not looking at the screen? Like, what's going on right now? And I luckily changed it. But you were talking about people burning out from YouTube, and there's a couple people I've talked to where, I mean, you know, because you have almost like a support group or so, you know, somebody will DM me and be like, dude, views, blah, 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 blah. And a lot of times one of the things they bring up is that the stuff starts to weigh on them in real life. And then they're like, you know what? Real life's weighing on me. The screen is weighing on me. I'm going to leave. And I'm not saying they could fix it at all. I'm not giving out Jim Bro advice because I don't believe in it. It's, you know, it's different for everybody. But there are times where I'm like, I don't know if that person's as healthy as they need to be when it comes to taking care of doing stuff outside, not caring too much about, you know, what's being piped to you, because it is just a comment on Twitter. Oh, somebody got canceled on Twitter. Then cancel Twitter. Just leave Twitter. You're not going to be canceled if, you know, you're not there. There's certain things you can do, and I see a lot of people holding on to stuff. And I don't know if it happened prior to COVID too, but I do think COVID made some stuff better, weirdly enough. I've found friends treating each other better. I've watched things, because I love to watch Social Creatures, and you'll be like, those guys are, you know, they're bro hugging now. They're like, oh, dude, it's nice to see you in real life. You know, I wasn't able to see you for a while. But it's unfortunate that happened, but I'm glad you got it, you know, in some way sorted out. And you understand that you have to continue to do it, because, dude, number of people I know who will take blood pressure medication and then stop. And you're like, it doesn't go away. What are you doing? You need to stay on it, you know, like that kind of stuff. So,
it's hard. It's hard to build the habit stuff. And like, honestly, like, I mean, looking back, I'm happy that it happened, because like it does sort of kick you into gear of needing, it was a necessary lifestyle change that I had to make. and that was good to make overall. But yeah, I definitely get sort of seeing other people not able to sort of take that step, and it's difficult, especially when you have like loved ones and stuff like that you see that aren't doing things that that would be good for them.
Yeah.
But at the same time, you can't just go up to them and say like, hey, you should be doing that. You can't really help those who don't want to be helped.
To my brother.
Yeah, I know. Yes, same here. Like, I'm the only one in my group that has sort of had like an athletic background and does physical activity on the regular. So it's like seeing my friends and stuff like that. And like, I've tried in the past, inviting them to gym or building workouts for them and stuff like that. And yeah, it stays for like a week or a couple of weeks, but it just falls off. Yeah. And then like, then in the back of my head is like, I know it's going to hit them one day. And hopefully it won't be too late then, because that's going to suck if that ends up happening.
Yeah, I don't wish a bad back on anybody. I'll tell you that much. I think that's the other thing is the age thing, because like I have some friends who look really good, very, very handsome, they're well kept, all that. But they joke. I would never say this without them saying it. Tube body. There's no definition in their body at all. It's tube body. It's just a person. They look athletic, but there's no athleticism. They just look athletic. Yeah. And they'll, like, their knee will start hurting when they get to be 30 or something. I'll be like, dude, man, you got to lube that thing up. You got to, like, the less it is true that if you do not do those things, you won't magically gain the ability later.
I know. Yeah.
It will go away. And, sometimes they'll go, but.
That's the worst part is like when you hear people complain about the issues they're having, and I'm just like, just exercise,
Yeah, but
it'll go away.
Leg day. Well, I don't hate it, but even us athletic people will be like, yeah, leg days.
That's my least favorite day.
Upper body,
my least favorite day.
It's all about the upper body.
I like martial arts leg days, but like when you go, squat rack leg day, because my back is bad, and you'll look at it and you'll be like, all right, there's 7 extra other safety things I have to take care of, and you can hurt yourself so easily.
I'm suffering from a long-term injury because like I had a bad squat like years ago, and I'm still suffering.
Shit.
A bad squat. I have a bulging disc in my spine, so it's like
lower mid.
Lower, like pretty much at the bottom. So yeah, it's pretty rough. But it's something that you work around, and like it's.
Do you know that lower deltoid workout where you go like this?
Oh yeah.
You mean, yeah.
Dude, I had one bad rep, and fucked my shoulder for like a year.
Dude, that's one of the reasons why I do wish more people would find a good gym that did martial arts, but not like beating the shit out of each other, but like movements, because we would never in a million years do any move that was that hinge worthy on your joints, because the joints aren't made to handle weights way out here. And I've seen people do flies on a bench, and they're down there doing like, and they put their arms way out. I'm like, dude, your shoulders, nobody's shoulder. That's not how it's shoulder. It's not where it's like me having an upper body that's long. I was warned when I was a little kid.
Angle.
My mom and dad were like, dude, you have a longer upper body. That means if you bend over, there's more stress on your lower back. And I heard it in something else. But I do remember everybody saying, dude, don't stretch way out. What are you doing? Like or do it with light weights, obviously. But you'll see those, those people doing a bad
CrossFit.
lift. CrossFit is, I don't even know.
Oh my
we'll move
goodness.
On. Come on. Even my friends who used to do CrossFit do not do CrossFit anymore. None of them.
It's not sustainable.
It's not good.
It is what's crazy about CrossFit too is I know people who have done it and they haven't been injured, but the number of people who have just because of bad form. And by the way, I've been hurt by good form where like Michael said, one bad squat can put you, and I had one bad bench and have a massive hernia from one single bench that was probably 3.2 pounds too high, maybe. A bench that I'd done, it wasn't even a personal best. And it was like the body was all, well, this is gone. Just, and you're screwed at that point. You have to go in for surgery.
Doesn't take much.
No, it doesn't take
famously,
much.
I tore out my shoulder kayaking.
Kayaking. Like, I mean, I know that water, stopping yourself or moving you are putting a lot of pressure on joints, but you don't think of a lot of injuries fucking from kayaking, right? You don't. It's just not the same thing. So, it's cool.
I remember I was right by the dock, and then I flipped over. And as I felt myself flipping over, I instinctively grabbed hold of the edge of the dock with my arm and then I went under, and the arm went like that.
Yeah, that sucks.
Yeah.
Michael, what you got any special diets you do for you? You do fasting? You do you just watching macros, carbs?
No, like honestly, I'm trying to just focus on just to not get burnt out or anything like that. I just trying to focus on one thing at a time right now. So really, it's mostly just about the physical and getting back into the gym, back into the workout program right now. And then, and right now, it's mainly just because I don't overall eat super unhealthy anyways. It is really more just about sort of small corrections and just being cognizant of like, okay, if I feel like I'm going to be eating out later tonight, what's the best option that I can take while still being able to go out. Like I've never been one to sort of restrict myself in terms of diet because I've never really had much of a super bad eating habit in anyways, luckily. So I haven't had to deal with that.
I mean, you haven't been addicted to Pop-Tarts? And
I definitely have enjoyed Pop-Tarts. I wouldn't say I've ever been addicted. I mean, sweet tooth in general, I've never really had just because I have a nut allergy. So like as a kid, there were many times where I just missed, birthday parties or something like that in terms of like the candy or the chocolates and stuff like that. So I never really developed a sweet tooth in that sense. So it's just something that I've never really cared about too much.
Gathry's Galaxy $2 super chat. Happy Friday to the best gaming community on the web. Thank you very much, Gathry. Dude, like I wish I don't have a sweet tooth, but then I do. It's very weird. Yeah. And when I do,
when I
do, man, I sent that picture to Reg of all the Pop-Tarts in my freezer, and he's like, "What the fuck? Who does that?" I'm like, "I do it. And then I won't eat them for 3 years. I don't know what's going on with that.
In the States, you guys have so many different, like in Canada, we don't have anywhere near as many flavors that you guys do. Yeah. Like there's a shop by my apartment that imports stuff from different countries, and so they get different Pop-Tart flavors there. And like,
we'll pretend that's what causes it. I'm okay with that. I'm okay with pretending I don't just get grape and eat the shit out of it. And a lot. Let's before we wrap it up, are you covering any board games here soon on your channel or anything on Twitch you want to put out? People,
nothing here at the moment. Like I'm working on sort of one of my larger videos. It's just I really want to get more people try to get more people into Warhammer Kill Team. To be honest, I'm making sort of like a definitive guide to Warhammer Kill Team because I think it's fantastic. It's in a great place right now. It's definitely one of the Games Workshop's most balanced games, and they've done a good job to it. So, and I'm really enjoying it. So yeah. That's sort of the next thing I'm working on. But board game wise, there's a couple board games that I've backed like years ago that are potentially coming this year. So one of them is like Townsfolk Tussle. I don't know if you heard of that one, but that one's a really, really cool one. It has sort of the aesthetic of Cuphead, sort of that old school hand drawn aspect, but it's a boss battler. So it's a cooperative boss battler where you just fight boss after boss after boss, slowly upgrading your equipment as you go on. It's great to play in a run, play in a night, and you sort of get that slight campaign feel from it. So that one's really, really fun. And then there's another big campaign one that I'm sort of dreading coming because it's already tough for us to get sort of our other campaign games on board in our play group. But there's one called Kingdoms Forlorn. It's by the same studio.
I know that one.
It's by the same one who did Aeon Trespass Odyssey. And they actually gave me, like I did a video on Kingdoms Forlorn because they actually gave me a physical prototype for that, which is very, very awesome. So I'm very much looking forward to that one, but my group and I still have to finish Aeon Trespass Odyssey, so that's going to be a sort of our main undertaking for this year once we're done with sort of D&D.
And I know Dead Good Media, you guys cover games. Is there anything that's come out recently, or
Yeah. I mean, like this past month has been really, really huge for one of our clients, THQ, with Alone in the Dark, South Park, and Outcast. So those have sort of been the more recent stuff that we've been working on. But yeah, we definitely specialize more in sort of the indie style stuff. So that's sort of where most things come out. But if there's anyone watching who is like a content creator and definitely enjoys getting early access to games and stuff like that, definitely hit me up. I'm always down to work with more content creators. And we have some really, really fun story related stuff. If you guys like single player story games, more sort of visual novel style stuff, there's a couple of fun things coming along the way for that. So.
Dude, Outcast I really enjoyed Outcast. I mean, I was a huge fan of the original for, 20 years ago or what have you. So I was excited to see it, and had some technical issues, but nothing that was, world shattering. And I would say that one's good. And then weirdly enough, last night, some people were in our chat, were finally getting to Alone in the Dark because there was a lot of games. And they were all actually really excited. They, like the one guy that was playing, was like, dude, this is actually better than he thought, because he just assumed because of all the other games it would be a big step down for him or something like that.
Right.
And he ended up really, really liking what he had played. He was about 4 hours in. So yeah, that'll be the next
people's
one
reception to that game definitely was sort of more of an expectations thing, depending on how people expected the game to go based off previews and stuff like that. It sort of definitely shaped how they approach the game.
I think Alone in the Dark is hard too.
Edgar as the protagonist again? Sorry.
It's two protagonists in this one.
Oh, okay.
It's is it Sarah? I think it's Sarah. And then it's it's the guy from Stranger Things.
David Harbour.
David Harbour playing the other characters. So it's two, and then how you go about you see different things from different standpoints and stuff. So it's
right. Okay.
From what I've seen, it looks really good. I just haven't got a chance to play it. It'll be like the next one that I jump into, depending. What about you guys, Johnny? You playing anything?
I'm looking to finish Dragon's Dogma tomorrow.
Streaming it at.
Yeah,
I got the time wrong. I was going to say the time. What's the time?
It's 2 p.m. UK time, 9 a.m.
9 a.m.
EDT, and I think 6 your
a.m.
time?
Pacific Standard Time. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's early as balls, but anybody's welcome. And I've been mostly playing with the Mystic Spearhand and Magic Archer classes. Those are my favorite.
Excellent. Silver or Absy, you guys have anything cool going on this weekend?
Vacation. I'm taking a vacation for like a week, so I don't know what I'm gonna do though. I might travel. I might not. No, I don't think I'll travel.
What about you, Silver?
I might get back into Dragon's Dogma 2 after I gave it about a week hiatus. And I will be trying to help complete the major order on Helldivers to finish off the automatons.
Save the world.
Campaign.
Save the galaxy.
Save the galaxy.
Or something.
Save the girls, save the galaxy. What's that from? Save the girls, save the...
Heroes. Save the cheerleader,
yes,
save the
cheerleader. God, I was sitting here going, I know I didn't just make that
I immediately knew.
Yeah, Heroes. And I will be streaming some Dragon's Dogma, also probably some Quarry. I think a bunch of us are going to get together and do like the 6-man Quarry, and then you should see a review. Cool. You should see. God dang, let me look at the schedule. You should see some reviews from next week. I think there's 2 reviews, as well as some previews. Side video, I'm pretty much done with, so that might also come out next week. And then the end of this year or the end of this month, we have Stellar Blade, which 20. I feel like I'm looking at the 25th 24th. 24th. Okay, thank you. Yeah, 24th for that. Hopefully, I'll have coverage for that. If not, I hope everybody enjoys it. You guys get a chance, definitely check out Michael's channel. I will put it as well in our in the chat here, as well as in the actual description of the YouTube video. Thanks as always for people coming in, joining with us, hanging out with us. Thanks to Michael for taking almost 3 hours. Or wait.
Yeah. No, thanks for having me. It was fun.
3 hours and 15 minutes. Almost only 15 minutes less than the Modern Warfare 3 campaign length. He took that long to hang out with us. Peace out, everybody, and have an awesome week. And you don't have to go